or to advise me how they expected me to behave in the Premier League, which I told them to blow them out their arse. So I would have probably been full of outrage at the same time as a balanced commercial mind, knowing that the big six are in part the value in the Premier League. So the balance between this outrage about their inappropriate behaviour would also be in the commercial reality of the value that they add to the league. So, I'd have a bit of both in my mind. But listen, inherently, the liabilities to operate in a certain way have to be governed and be enforced by those that are in positions of influence.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. More success for Arsenal. Are they the best team in Europe without the ball? talkSPORT's Danny Murphy reckons so.
They don't carry anyone defensively. They're so good defensively, even when they're not playing well.
Yeah,
it's really impressive, and that comes from the manager because he won't have anyone not doing their bit without the ball.
Murphy says Eberechi Eze is much better in that number 10 role.
Defending centrally is smaller distances for him to run, and it suits him better.
Right.
When you play wide, you're defending, you're doing 60-yard runs, 50-yard runs. You've got to be proactive, not reactive, or you're done.
Arteta said Eze is settling into the Arsenal team now after his stunning strike in the win over Leverkusen. Enzo Fernandez has suggested he might leave Chelsea at the end of the season. After another humbling by PSG, Enzo said there's the World Cup and then we'll see. Meanwhile, we're told Bruno Fernandes should see out his career at Old Trafford. So says his Portugal teammate Jose Fonte.
Bruno is becoming, or if not already, is a legend at Man United. I think he loves the city, loves the club.
Meanwhile, a devastated Kasper Schmeichel might never play professionally again. The Celtic keeper could need a year to recover from 2 shoulder operations. Elsewhere today, League One strugglers Rotherham have sacked their manager Matt Hamshaw. Non-league Dagenham and Redbridge, under the new ownership of KSI, have dismissed Lee Bradbury. That despite a 3-2 win over Farnborough last night to take them within 6 points of the National League South playoffs. Andy Carroll takes interim charge. And the Senegalese FA will appeal the decision to take away their AFCON title. Some bookies are now paying out on a Morocco win. There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
GPs are being told to prescribe antibiotics to anyone who visited a Kent nightclub after its linked to a meningitis outbreak. And Sir Keir Starmer has reiterated his stance on the war in Iran at today's Prime Minister's questions. There's more from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Spring forwards with Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Cloudier in the northwest, but warm sunshine for most of us.
Yeah, what a joy when that music comes on. I mean, not necessarily for you, but definitely for me. I'm Danny Kelly, and I'm here sitting in for Paul Hawksby today, alongside me, as so often in the recent weeks. I'm delighted to say Charlie Baker is here as well. Good afternoon, Charlie.
Hello, Danny. It's lovely to be here with you.
Thank you. We've got a great show lined up for you. But of course, these days, because we're on TV as well, the preparation for radio shows has changed. That, Charlie, is my slightly unnecessary hairbrush.
Oh, it's nice, Danny.
With which I comb my hairs. As you have less of them, you don't comb your hair, you comb your hairs. And here is the makeup brush that Mrs. Kelly supplied me with without knowing that she supplied me with it.
Just hold it next to your face, Danny. It looks a slightly different shade.
Yeah, well, I've got some maquillage here, as the ladies say,
nice.
from which I try and take the shine off my enormous noggin. But listen, there's no reason for us to be doing stuff at this stage because there's so much to get through.
Oh my gosh!
We'll be doing boxing and football and the Champions League. We'll talk about the amazing Bodo Glimt and how they went out in a ball of fire last night. We'll be talking about the business between Senegal and Morocco. We'll be talking about just about everything over the next 3 hours. Charlie, of course, will have some comedy bits and pieces that they're so average that he hasn't put them into his stage show because you have to pay to hear
Exactly. Go and see that. Thanks for plugging the tour early, Danny. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you need that, Charlie. All of that is coming up in the next 3 hours here on Kelly and Baker on talkSPORT, to which you are entirely welcome. Welcome, everybody. So, Charlie,
yes.
Where to start?
Well, I'm just going to say, even as a Spurs fan, Danny, you can appreciate Eze's goal last night.
But he scored better goals than that against Spurs. I think about 7 of them this season alone.
Oh right.
No, it was a thing of beauty. But I always think a great goal like that in such a losing. Sorry, they didn't lose. It was Arsenal. I was only joking there. That they're in a supernatural form when your teenagers are scoring. Your bench players are contributing, and Danny Murphy, who is a pretty stern judge, is going on and on about your defence. And, people say, oh, Danny, you're not allowed to say anything nice about Arsenal, you're a Spurs fan, all the rest of it. I say the same things I always say. Spurs get 2 opportunities every season to put a nail in their tyre and let the air out of Arsenal. They beat us 4-1 on both occasions, so we have to slightly shut up.
Yeah, sometimes you have to say too good, don't you? Very, very good.
Although, of course, we'll talk about Lasagna Gate later, because because that's the big news. I mean, who knew that Chelsea getting beat by whatever aggregate score? I mean, you need an abacus to work it out.
Danny, 8-2.
Wouldn't even be the biggest story of the night because, look, we all go to football matches. We go absolutely bonkers throughout the game. Good things happen, bad things happen. The referee is rubbish or the referee's okay. VAR goes your way or it doesn't go your way. Then you leave the stadium and hopefully you consign the result, good, bad or indifferent, to the dustbin of memory. To have the result reversed, as Senegal have in the African Cup of Nations, weeks later,
unbelievable,
when the trophy presumably is already safely ensconced in the FA of Senegal's private viewing area, when the players, including players who play in the Premier League like Pape Sarr, have polishing their medals nightly.
They've had the open top bus, Danny. You can't take the open top bus ride back.
No, that's the final. That's the exclamation mark after
if you
the
get
event,
to that moment, that's it.
Yeah.
The result stands.
You go in the open top bus, and whichever God you believe in points down a massive arrow from heaven and goes, "There it is. There's history."
There you are.
I was thinking about it last night, and given Spurs' current travails, but the parade after Bilbao and Manchester United and the Europa League and all the rest, it was so invigorating, so life confirming, so life choice validating.
Yeah.
So I thought, what if they suddenly turn around and said Manchester United have appealed against that result? Yeah. It is crazy. Now, look, at the time, I thought it was crazy that the Senegal players were allowed to leave the field of play and come back. I happen to know the laws reasonably well.
Okay.
I think it's 82, 83 and 84 that cover leaving the pitch. But once they'd done that, and once the officials had said, OK, crack on then, I find it very hard to believe. Now, we will get an expert on, Charlie, because throughout this tournament, I was talking to both Kwaku Afari here on talkSPORT and Jay Harris, who was covering it for The Athletic. And he was helping us on Trans-Europe Express. And they all hinted again and again and again how it would be unthinkable for Morocco, the host nation, not to win the title because the King Mohammed, had put so much money into billions into football over the past 2 decades. And of course, there was a part of me that thought, well, it's probably just as well that you can't just buy the tournament. And then this happens. And, even the least cynical person is going to go, oh, my God, they found a way to win it weeks later.
Well, it's just that thing of, can you ever trust a football match ever again? Like you say, that it can't be changed. We can all find reasons for results not to stand afterwards. I mean, they did break the rule at the time. They have broken the rule, but you have to do it at the time. Because the law is the law at the time, so that they could have they could have said at the time, well, you can't do that. So
the law, I think, we'll get into this with legals later, says if the team leaves the field, they didn't all leave. Sadio Mane stayed on the pitch.
Right.
I wonder if there's all kinds of things that are going on
so
here.
In court, my lord, that's what you'd say.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I think you'll find.
What if they all come back and say, we all had concussions, we were just checking ourselves out in the dressing room? This isn't. We haven't heard.
They won't have thought of that, Danny. They'll be
oh no, they'll be
cheering you on now, Danny. That'd be unbelievable.
I'm really beloved across Africa. They'll definitely be listening to this, Charlie.
They're big Trans-Europe Express fans, I've heard.
Absolutely.
The enemy was massive in Africa in the 80s and 90s.
It's easy for me. People just say, Danny, of course, you're going to get the Champions League final 2019 replayed.
You're getting that back, aren't you, Danny? Yeah, that's the one you're getting back.
The non-penalty. Lasagna Gate, I'm having that back as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but
that's nice.
People want to know, what about Torquay United?
Of course,
surely their games are so unimportant that there's none that you're still hanging on to years later.
Well, people could probably guess which one I'm going to say anyway, which is the playoff final between us and Hartlepool, where we scored 2 perfectly good goals, Danny, which Jeff Stelling will now be, the phone will be ringing now saying, Jeff will be saying, tell Charlie to shut up about it. There's some games you go, we did not lose that game. We did not deserve to, and we did not lose that game. And you look back at, if you have a 40-year football watching career like I've got, and yours is longer, Danny, you experience absolutely everything. And you go, well, but then like you say, you have to just suck it up, and that's part of the game. You can't go back changing. But anyway, on the 8-10-89,
yes,
on the text board today, we will say, which game do you want changed? Tell us your team, which game it is. You only get one, by the way. We can only grant one wish of changing the result. 8-10-89 for those.
Yeah, we can't have people coming on with a whole string of games from last season.
No.
I'm just thinking about when the Hartlepool against Torquay game eventually gets to court, as it no doubt will now, because you will not let it rest. So the judge is up there.
Yeah.
He's like Fred Gwynn in my Cousin Vinny.
Right.
And you're saying your piece. You're representing Torquay United.
Of course, yeah.
And everyone's going, my goodness, doesn't he speak well? And this seems like a real injustice. Suddenly, at the back of the court, the door springs open, and there is the diminutive figure of Jeff Stelling.
Yeah.
And the judge will look up, and you'll see Stelling, and you'll hear the gavel go, case dismissed. Yeah. You cannot beat the Stelling.
I'm never going to beat the Stelling. And also, you call him diminutive. We're about the same height, Danny. So it's very much, it would be just 2 Napoleon complex guys going at each other, which, don't Google that.
You could go on each other's shoulders and look me in the eye then. That'd be brilliant.
Exactly, yeah. Or to quote the famous the joke about I think it's who is it? The punchline is, oh no, Jock, there's 2 of them. They're playing the Glasgow. They're playing the Glasgow Theatre Royal or something. Oh, Bernie Winters. Bernie Winters and his brother. Bernie walks on.
Mike.
But Bernie and Mike walk on. So Bernie walks on and he's dying, absolutely dying. Yeah. And then Mike walks on and all he hears from the audience is, oh no, there's 2 of them.
Listen, so this should be a belting text subject.
Yes,
Charlie
lovely.
will try and marble them in, as we pros say, throughout.
Well,
the next
Peter from Leeds
hours.
has said, change the 1975 European Cup final, Leeds v Bayern Munich. There we are,
well,
Peter. That's changed. You won it. Well done.
That's pretty much known now to have been. How can I put it? The goal that Leeds scored was given as offside by the officials, and the goals that Bayern Munich scored, I think a man called Roth scored the goal. It looked suspiciously offside to me, watching on an old-fashioned television all those years ago.
We've already had 500 come in,
Leeds
Danny.
are champions of Europe.
Yeah.
8-10-89. 8-10-89. Matches you want replayed, results you want overturned. Apparently, it's all on. You can do anything like that. Now, our next guest, former Chelsea defender Scott Minto, will definitely want last night's tie, indeed the whole tie against PSG replayed. We'll talk about that next here on Kelly and Baker on the mighty, mighty talkSPORT.
Max Dowman is. I see him playing. He goes, where was it? Was it Mansfield you played the other day in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He makes a run, right, from about 15, 20 yards outside their box. All right, he just glides edge of the box like a slalom. Yeah. The kid is a major talent. So is Ethan Wanyeri, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
At that point, he bought Wanyeri on something like 91 minutes at 3-1 up, I think, or 3-0 up.
Yeah.
It was just to give him his debut, nothing else. And that was the point I was making.
John Terry said that he was he hasn't seen a player dribble like that since Lionel Messi.
Well, I would I'd hold back that sort of credit yet. I think, come on, let the boy be the boy. Let the boy just find his way. Totally different build to Messi.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you look at the size of him. He looks like, and he's still growing. He looks like he could be. I don't know how tall he is, but he looks like he's going to be 6 foot plus, just by his build, doesn't he? And he's got Messi was. Yeah, I would resist comparing any young player at his age to anyone at the minute. Just let him be Max Dowman.
Yeah,
he'll be Max Dowman.
Yeah,
he's a major talent.
No,
he's a major talent.
Fair play to him. They do produce some.
Yeah, they have.
Boys.
And Lewis Skelly coming through. And I mean, the thing about Lewis Skelly, he might have to leave.
Yeah.
And Capierre, if they sign him permanently in Capierre, you've got in him, they've got Calafiori. Where's Lewis Skelly going to go?
Scores. That's probably tie over straight away. Squares it in field for Barcola. 2-0. Superb counter-attack from Paris Saint-Germain. Vitinha can't get the strike in, but it's fired in quite beautifully by Seni Mayulu. And Chelsea go out of the Champions League with a whimper. Not a night for Liam Rosenior to want to remember for too long.
We've got another goal. Vinicius Junior is celebrating. The City players are out on the feet. They're finished. They're done. They're absolutely shattered. City have gone out on a whimper in this second half. They really have. They needed to get the job done tonight, but some strange decisions tonight. Real Madrid, who march on, they go through 5-1 in aggregate.
It's on! Wow, what a goal! On the turn, whacks it in. Rice coming forward, right foot in effort. Oh, and it's in, and that'll be that. Arsenal are going to be in the Champions League quarter-finals.
Yeah, you're listening to Kelly and Baker on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Check out a wide range of garden power tools with brands such as Bosch and Ryobi. Next stop, Toolstation. Yeah, you heard there how the English clubs got on, if that's the right word, in the Champions League last night. More action tonight live here on talkSPORT. Foremost of those were, of course, poor old Chelsea, who got various parts of their lower anatomy handed back to them by Paris Saint-Germain. Here to discuss that and everything else to do with Chelsea and the Champions League in general. I'm delighted our good friend and former Chelsea defender, Scott Minto, joins us. Good afternoon, Scott.
Hello, Scott.
Danny, Charlie, I'm here in Malaysia, so it's good evening here. But pot and kettle, mate. Pot and kettle. Be careful what you say about the Chelsea.
Go on.
Why? Go on.
No, just with Spurs. I mean, obviously,
Nobody has any expectations of Spurs, Scott. They expect Spurs to get hammered. I guess that's the first question. I mean, you could make the comparison. Two clubs that have spent an absolute fortune of money, particularly on very young players. Chelsea are 2.5 years, 3 years into this project with Blue Co. I don't know what you made of last night, or the two legs actually, but the gap between the two projects, is, at least on the evidence of two matches, Scott, is enormous.
Do you know what, Danny? And it's nearly 4 years, by the way. But if you'd have said sort of 70, 72 minutes after the first leg that the aggregate scoreline is going to be 8-2, you'd be saying, right, let's stick some money on that because we're going to make a lot. I didn't see that coming, to be honest with you, and I think Chelsea lost it in the first leg. Now,
of course,
it's one thing, and everyone was saying that that third goal was very important, but the difference is the top teams are absolutely clinical, and teams like Chelsea are wanting to get there, but still quite far away. That final step is the big step. They lose the game 3-2, the top games. They don't lose the game 5-2, and then you're chasing it. And then with what happened last night, look, no, I don't think anyone really believed that Chelsea were going to go and score 3 and PSG weren't going to score any. But 1-0, 2-0 after 15 minutes, the tie was over. It's as simple as that.
When you are 3 goals down going into a second leg, it's tough to know what to do, isn't it? Do you stick or twist? What do you do? I don't think
you can't stick, Charlie.
But I mean, till the second half and then go for it. So you don't go too far behind. But the team selection was, I don't know. It looked odd to me, Scott.
Well, I think you've got to sort of, have sort of mitigating thoughts about right back. First of all, Reece James is out; he's injured, and then Malagusto is ill. So quite clearly, you're going to have someone who's not your typical right back. Could he have played Josh Achimpong instead of Mamadou Sarr? Well, possibly, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. No one really saw that mistake so early in the game, and it does, Charlie. It just kills the tie. Just when you think you say about stick or twist, and to be fair, if you remember in the second leg against Arsenal, they did stick and they tried to keep it tight until towards the end. So it's a fair point. But when you're 3 goals down, you need to come out firing. You need to score that first goal. You need to do what Sporting did against Bodo Glimt did. I mean, they could have been 3-0 up before they even scored their first goal.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you're coming up against one of the best sides in the world. And this is where, and I've been saying for a very long time now, that I actually don't think Chelsea are a million miles away. I think they're only 3 players away. But those 3 players in the spine of the side are absolutely crucial. The goalkeeper, the centre-half, and the centre-forward. Now, João Pedro has done fantastically well this season, but you can't rely on just one person. You need an option coming off the bench. And if you get the senior pro as a world-class goalkeeper, a world-class centre-half, and a world-class centre-forward, I genuinely think Chelsea wouldn't be that far away. But unfortunately, it does look like the ownership model are going to go 100% youth. And I think there's a big step up in that sense.
It puts a lot of pressure on the managers as well. Just to check from the start of this discussion, do you think Spurs will come out with more than 8 goals conceded across the two sides?
Well, Danny, I was over in Madrid for the first leg for talkSPORT.
We won the last hour.
Yes, no, honestly. So obviously it was a horrendous start, but you're 3-0 down against one of the top teams in Europe, maybe not the top, but one of, especially in that kind of atmosphere. 3-0 down after 15 minutes. You're 4-0 down after 22 minutes. That could have been 7 or 8. I'm going to name drop here. I spoke to Michael Laudrup the next day.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, he would have taken Kinski off, and 2, it could have been 7 and 8. And I totally agree with him. So actually, Spurs showed great character for the rest of that game because they completely could have folded. Against Liverpool at Anfield, it was a very battling performance as well.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't hold any hope for you tonight getting back into the game.
Nor me.
But that one at the weekend against Forest is obviously absolutely massive for you.
Well, are we seeing a new wave of how important a goalkeeper is in the team? You look at Arsenal last night. Raya made a couple of really good saves. The Leverkusen keeper made a couple of really good saves. I know they still lost, but the keeper's so important.
Charlie, the keeper has always been one of, and arguably the most important position on the pitch, because everyone talks about the strikers and, you know, the sort of the sexy tag of putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's why they're most expensive. Well, you can always have more than one striker. You can have an attacking midfielder. You can switch that centre forward for someone coming off the bench. With the goalkeeper, generally, it's that goalkeeper and it's just him. And if you've got a top goalkeeper, I think Brian Clough said it back in the day. The moment he signed Peter Shilton, it was like, right, we've got a great chance of winning the title here. And this is the great Brian Clough we're talking about. So I think goalkeepers is still now a really underrated position. And arguably, it's the most difficult position on the pitch, the way so many modern day managers are asking them to play like number 10s, but they're the last man of defence.
And Scott, we start the show talking about games you'd like to see replayed.
Oh, yeah.
Given that now apparently you can just change the results weeks and weeks after the event, why not years and years? There must have been a game that you either saw more that pertinently played and you think, Scott, oh, that should be played again. What is it, Scott?
Well, I heard you say it before the break about last night. Well, obviously that would have been 2 games, and that's not in the rules. So you can only change 1 game.
Yeah,
to be fair, my first club, Charlton, seemed to do well in the playoffs, so I'm not going to do anything there. I'll go back. The biggest game of my career went really well. It was the FA Cup final in '97. But I do remember a couple of years later going to Old Trafford, you know, Beckham, Keane, Scholes, Giggs. And I was playing for West Ham at the time. 20 minutes in, we were doing really well. We even scored the first goal, Paolo Wanchop. We got hammered 7-1. We just made them angry. We shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I can see why you want that one expunged from the records.
You can't overturn a 7-1, Scott.
Well, listen, this is my game now, Charlie.
Okay, right, you've made your own rules. Okay, Scott, that's fine.
I mean, because even I'm trying to work. No, all right. There's no way I can think of the 3 goals they give you now. When they overturn these rules, that would have been 10. Well, it'd still be 7-3, but 7-4, wouldn't it? Listen, thank you very much indeed, Scott. And I did Scott a great favour there by not asking him to become a lawyer, by asking him about the leniency or otherwise of Chelsea's sanction for all the miscreant things they did.
Cost Spurs the league, Danny, that team, didn't it?
The 2017 league table now has an asterisk against it, yes. And I'm just polishing off the open top bus for the the Seven Sisters Road and all the rest of it. Tottenham High Road. Thank you very much indeed. Now, catch up on all last night's Champions League action in the latest episode of the talkSPORT Daily podcast, as Adrian Durham is joined by Andy Townsend, Dean Ashton and Mickey Gray for a full in-depth roundup. Available on all podcast platforms and the talkSPORT app from now.
few years back, when Jurgen Klopp was in charge, we tried signing Moises Caicedo, a defensive midfielder, because since Fabinho and Henderson have left, we've not signed one.
Yeah.
He turned us down. We tried signing that Southampton young
Lavia as well.
Chelsea. Lavia, yeah.
Same window.
He turned us down.
Yeah.
A year later, we went for Zubamendi. He turned us down. We've not replaced that kind of player. Slot came in and played Gravenberch in that position. He did well. We won the league because of the other teams falling off as well. But we've not signed that player yet. We let go of centre-halves, Matip and company, and we've got only two...
Company?
Choice. No, Matip and company, you know...
Oh, Matip and co, other players.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, Matip and co, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, let go of players like that, and then we've not signed any centre-halves. We're probably the only Premier League club who's got two senior centre-halves on their books.
Do you know what, Sam, as well? Another one, Mark Gahey. I don't know why you didn't get him.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. For £5 million, We spent outrageous money on attacking players, but we not signed a defensive player just for £5 million. How ridiculous is that?
Yeah, but that doesn't explain why you're not scoring goals.
Exactly. Yeah, but there comes Slot's position. Arne Slot.
Hold on.
Let's get a cash point.
Hold on. Sorry, are you working behind the tills at like Tesco's or something?
Yes, I am.
Why are you talking to us?
Because I'm listening to you as well.
That's unbelievable.
Senegal's FA will appeal their decision to take away their AFCON title. The Confederation of African Football have decided to hand the trophy to Morocco over Senegal's famous walkout in the final. Here's talkSPORT reporter Ben Jacobs.
There shouldn't have been a walk-off. The officials should have had more control over the game. Emotions boiled over, and then when you add this in the aftermath, it all adds up to a very chaotic and messy situation.
Pep Guardiola's dismissed suggestions his record at City will be tainted if he doesn't win another Champions League.
First season, you remember first season here? Why are you going to win the Champions League? We won 100 points. Why are you going to win the Champions League? Why are you going to win the Champions League? At the end we won it. Why you want to fight Champions League?
10-man City were knocked out by Real Madrid for the third season running. There's trouble at Chelsea as well. Here's Jason Cundy.
Honestly, I've not seen a gap that big, and I've been doing Chelsea TV for over 20 years. That's the biggest gap I've ever seen a Chelsea side play.
Chelsea went out 8-2 on aggregate to PSG, while Enzo Fernandez has suggested he might leave at the end of the season. The only bright spot on another chastening Champions League night for English sides was this guy.
Wow, what a goal! Eberechi Eze on the turn.
Mikel Arteta says Eze's beginning to settle in an Arsenal shirt.
His level of activity, with the ball, without the ball, in the spaces that he moves, the purpose that he's showing every time he's in and around the box as well.
Rice scored the other to set up Arsenal's Champions League quarter-final with Sporting, who came back from 3-0 down in their tie with Bodo Glimt. Tonight we've got Newcastle, Liverpool and Spurs live across the network.
City haven't bothered to waste money, Charlie, by changing that Max Rushton and Charlie Baker thing. You're listening to Danny Kelly and Charlie Baker. Well, I was going to say the A-team, but we all know that's not true. But we're very glad to be here. I hope we're
in the squad, Danny. In the squad. I mean, you're definitely A-team.
I'm not 80. Oh, 18.
18,
okay,
yeah,
right,
18, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
I'm on loan at Lincoln.
Yeah, and you haven't even got a buyout clause.
Exactly.
To be fair. Listen, to help us look back on the amazing results in the Champions League last night. Somebody who's very much part of the firm here at talkSPORT is Lars Siversen, European football guru. Good afternoon, Lars.
Hello, Lars.
Good afternoon, Danny. I think it's sometimes watching the sort of Carabao Cup squad is as much fun as watching the first teamers, because you see there's some youngsters you've got a lot of faith in. There might be a squad player you think should be starting anyway. It's good stuff.
Grizzled old veterans showing the lads the way. Yeah, I get it.
Right.
Yeah. Lars, partly because of you, I have gone completely over the top in the last 2 years about Bodo Glimt. It is the most astonishing story in European football. But last, I mean, on Sunday night, myself and Andy Brissell were going on and on and on about their 3-0 win in the first leg. They got a whacking out in Portugal. Sporting won 5-0 after extra time. What was this, Lars? A wake-up call, a kind of return to normality? And how do you think it's being seen in Norway, where, of course, Bodo Glimt, I presume, have been the name on everybody's lips for the past, well, the last 4 Champions League games against big teams have all been victories.
Yeah, it's a real shame that it ended the way it did, their European adventure. And it's really hard to think of a greater sort of change in fortunes from the first half in Buda to the first half here. Because the first half in particular of the home leg, they played some of the best football they've played on all these European adventures. They were extraordinary. But in truth, like the first half of this in Lisbon, they were battered. It was extremely one-sided. They were lucky not to be even further down, and so there's no point even like you can squabble about the handball penalty and stuff like this, but really, Sporting were so much better. It's pointless to talk about the referee. I'll defer to the coach, Kjetil Knutsen, who spoke about this after the game, and I think he kind of hit the nail on the head because he said we don't play the game, we played the occasion. And the occasion was way too big for us. And he pointed that Sporting were a team that went out and, let's translate this without swearing, and didn't care about anything. They kind of they weren't affected, whereas we were thinking consequences from every kick of the game, and we became passive. And this is the thing that's really sad for me, because for me the most important or impressive thing about Bodø Glimt is that in these big games against Inter, against Manchester City, against Atletico Madrid, they've been able to go out there and not be affected by the occasion, and that they've played their own game, and they've not been cowed by the size of the opponent and all this sort of stuff. So it was unfortunate to see that they weren't able to do that here. And someone wrote this from the sort of Norwegian football Twitter sphere, pointed out on Twitter that for once, for a very rare occasion, watching Bodø Glimt here actually felt like watching a Scandinavian team in Europe, in the sense that they were just a little overwhelmed, and they were late to every tackle. They were, and it's hard to put a finger on. I'm sure they will evaluate it very carefully. But basically, the thing that went wrong yesterday was I think the mindset was not quite where it should be, and it was an entirely deserved victory in the end. Sporting, you can't say anything else.
So you think there was some sort of complacency there, Lars? It wasn't just that Sporting were the better side.
I do wonder, I don't think if you're from a Norwegian town of 55 people, I don't think you're ever going to be complacent in a Champions League knockout tie. But I wonder if being 3-0 up just kind of put them in a very unusual position where they actually felt like they had something to lose, which I don't think they've really had in the same way before. And I do wonder if, hindsight obviously being 2020, if they should have approached this game as just let's go out and score one more, and instead they were very defensive, very much on the back foot, which isn't really their game. So I think possibly the approach was unfamiliar for them. Anyway, we should congratulate Sporting on what was a really very and
they're a really good team, Sporting,
very
as
good
well.
result for them.
One thing that amazes me, and there are a lot of things that amaze me about the rise of Bodø Glimt, and maybe we're at another crossroads here, Lars. You mentioned the coach Knutsen, who clearly can run a football team. What stopped a team in one of the traditional places where Norwegian coaches go, Germany or somewhere? Why is he still at Bodø with absolutely no disrespect to the club, obviously?
Yeah, so at the risk of trying to read someone's mind or speaking for someone who's not in the room, I have a feeling that he will have seen other Norwegian coaches go abroad and perhaps be a little taken aback by how little time you get. I mean, our national team coach, Ståle Solbakken, who's a very good football coach, he had one stint in Cologne in Germany with Cologne. He had a very brief stint with Wolves in the championship, and every time it ended pretty quickly. Because what is perhaps shocking sometimes to Scandinavian coaches is just how little time you get to build anything in these big foreign leagues. And I suspect he is aware of the fact that he is at a club where everything runs according to how he wants it to run. He is now, because they've made good money in Europe, he is on what is a pretty decent contract for Norwegian football. So, of course, financially, he'd make more by going abroad, but he's certainly not going poor. And he's at a club where everything is perfect. Yeah. And there must also be a side of him that thinks, how far can we take this when we have these European adventures? Like, what's the limit to what we can achieve here with this group? But I do wonder if now, getting this far in the Champions League, maybe that limit has been found, and maybe actually having this adventure now, not in the Conference League, not in the Europa League, but actually in the main Champions League, taking on some of the very best. Maybe when that's been ticked off, he would be more open to moving abroad.
Maybe he's happy. Maybe he's content. And he's found what he actually wants to do, and it's manage Butter Glimt. And he's like, I can't believe I get to do the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life.
There's also a human element to this. Like we're human beings, we're not automatons. I mean, he's never worked abroad before. He's 57 years of age. Maybe he feels he's happy living in the country he grew up with.
And that should be the greatest motivator of all. If you find a place where, if you stand in a place where you're happy, you don't leave that place. I know myself voluntarily. You do not leave that place voluntarily.
So of course, he could be hired by Brentford or Brighton and make more money. But by the way it works in these big clubs internationally, he could be fired in 6 months, and then where are you? So you have to factor these things in.
Okay. Much more predictably, Arsenal found a way and got at least one great goal from Eze to beat a Bayer Leverkusen side that really are in tremendous transition now in Germany. We'll get on to Manchester City and Real Madrid. Both of those traditional powers, I think, are still in. They're not 100% their normal, generator selves. Arsenal probably the favourites for the tournament, Lars. I mean, I can feel the words turn into a mixture of vinegar and ash in my mouth. But you've got to speak truth to power.
They're so good. They're so good.
What Arsenal are that very few other teams at the top end of European football right now is that they're very, very solid defensively. And it's one of those things. I wonder if that's why some Arsenal fans feel like they're not getting enough credit for what they're doing this season. And I have a theory that maybe it's because so much of what's good about them is how solid they are. And that's just not an exciting thing to talk about. No one comes into the office Monday morning to talk about, wow, that back four was tidy this weekend. Like that's something to do with how we talk about football. But they are remarkably solid, Arsenal, which if you look around the continent at the other tournament favourites, if you look at Paris Saint-Germain, obviously their front line can decimate anyone on their day, but they concede goals. Like we saw this, especially in the first game against Chelsea and in the second game as well. They can be got at. Barcelona play with this wild high line. Incredible.
That they are going to get caught out with that, I promise you.
Absolutely. And even Bayern, who I think, if you ask me who's been the best team in Europe this season, for me, it's between Bayern and Arsenal across the board. But Arsenal beat them, and Bayern, as incredible as they can be going forward, I think they also can be got at down the other end. So Arsenal, of all the sort of really top-end teams, I feel like Arsenal are the most solid at the back. And then they do have some games where the attack doesn't quite fire. But what is different this year from last year and the year before is that there is genuine squad depth here. And this is why I think this goal Eze scores in this game, it's actually quite significant because they were well on top and they were the best team against Leverkusen, and it never really felt like they were not going to win that game. But it took them a little while to get that first goal, and the goalkeeper Blažević had some great saves. And maybe at other times that can sort of, you get this creeping sense of, oh no, you're missing chances, and suddenly there's a counterattack and these things can happen. But Arsenal now have, even though if you look at Gyökeres and Eze, they've not been the sort of slam dunk 10 out of 10 signings that maybe people were hoping they would be, but they've made really useful contributions. Gyökeres has scored some winning goals recently, and Eze here, when Arsenal were struggling to kind of get past the goalkeeper, he's the one that turns up with something extra, and that squad depth I think really changes what
he's looking
Arsenal
good in the 10.
Exactly.
He's looking really good in the 10, isn't he?
It's crazy squad depth. You're absolutely right. And we'll finish this section by saying, Lars, I think you're right to say that Arsenal fans think they're not getting enough credit. I've always thought over the last 50 years they should actually change the club to Arsenal NEC. Arsenal, not enough credit, because that's what their fans think is definitely happening. You're listening to Lars Siversen having a go at Arsenal on Kelly and Baker.
When do we hear about City and 115? Is there any correlation here?
Well, the overlap, I think, is only to the extent as to the treatment of this sort of conduct has not been treated as severely as PSR. So in a theoretical scenario where City are found to have breached some of the rules, but ultimately, like Chelsea, that wouldn't have impacted on its PSR position, this agreement suggests that, save for the fact that there was cooperation here and early admission, save for that fact, that maybe it's not even a points deduction for something as extreme as that. Maybe. So I think this is generally positive for City in terms of its leniency, but I wouldn't read too much into it because, of course, this is a sanction agreement. As to when it's coming, I mean, clearly we are now way over the expectations of all the parties. The last information I had is they have no idea when it's coming. I think we are back in the realms when international breaks are more likely than other times, but who knows?
And one international break's about to come up.
But for City, you must be in the same space.
Yeah.
If you are, because part of the allegation against City is fraud. So if indeed you are found to be guilty, because at this moment in time City aren't found guilty of anything, if you're found to be guilty, how do you then take up the table of sanctions and say, well, actually, it's a points or removal of credit and whatever else you had in the past because you've just allowed Chelsea to admit.
I think what they would say is, in the City case, you will struggle to get any of those lines of mitigation.
No, fine.
That are there in the Chelsea
but
case.
does mitigation
So it'll all be aggravation.
But does mitigation remove points then?
Yeah, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola has been speaking to the media after his side were knocked out of the Champions League by Real Madrid again. He was asked if he is under pressure to do better in Europe next season.
I started my career young, in the second team Barcelona with 37 years, we were promoted in the new league, and after Barcelona won the treble sextuple. Since then, I don't win the treble sextuple, my team is a failure. So I know that. Since the day one. First season, you remember first season here? Why are you going to win the Champions League? We won 100 points. When are you going to win the Champions League? When are you going to win the Champions League? At the end, we won it. Why you want to fix the Champions League? So we tried. We tried. We have been in other finals, a lot of semi-finals, and unfortunately, in the last two editions of the Champions League, we have been out. But this club, we arrived to make the bar a little bit high in terms of Champions League, and we didn't achieve that. Always, this is not a good thing, but it's fine. That is good. That is good.
Yeah, the great man there, Pep Guardiola.
Sorry,
talking
Danny. I
about,
always wonder, and Lars, I wonder if that's more of a journalist's question than a fan's question, because the fans always seem pretty happy with where Manchester City are and what they've achieved. It seems to me to be a lot of the time journalists asking, when are you going to win the Champions League, as Pep says then?
I think a lot of journalists. I think a lot of journalists are pretty impressed with the work Pep has done at Manchester City as well. Like, I mean, I think not. I guess it's a rational question to ask when you have a team that wins the league as often as they have and takes as many points as they have. Personally, I think even saying the sentence "winning the Champions," like I saw winning Guardiola has not won enough Champions Leagues. I think has not won enough Champions Leagues is a phrase that should just be eliminated from the sporting vocabulary.
Yeah.
You should never say that out loud. Like, there's no such thing as not winning enough Champions Leagues. What are you talking about? And I just think also because it's a knockout tournament, so really anything can happen in these ties.
Bang, nail. That's the sound of a Norwegian fella hitting the nail on the head. All he's got to say to that question is, all you got to say is it is a knockout competition, and sometimes your team runs into another great team, and then it's on the day or the days in this case. But I was surprised they lost both legs, Manchester City, even though Ruben Diaz, Rodri, not quite the players they were before their injury. Maybe they'll come back to that peak. But more surprising, Lars, were Real Madrid, who I think have got all kinds of problems in their team. And somehow I cannot bring myself to believe in the kind of supernatural thing, it's Real Madrid in the Champions League. I don't believe in all that. You've got 11 players against 11 players, 16 players against 16 players. And yet I also have to admit that they found a way again past Manchester City.
Well, this game yesterday was a game of great saves, wasn't it? It was some great saves by Courtois down one end, and unfortunately, a pretty great save by Bernardo Silva down the other end. But that was kind of a little bit outside the rules. And I just think when you have a 3-0 deficit to overcome against the team that is as good as at counterattacking as Real Madrid are, that's already a bit of a hospital pass, because you can't send everyone forward because Vinicius Jr. will do terrible things to you down the other end. Like, it's really very difficult. And when you then go down to 10 men, like it's.
I know. The game, the tie was over then, wasn't it? Let's be truthful about that.
Yeah.
I do find it slightly odd that you get the same sanction for moving your elbow 4 inches than if he died full length, stretched his hands out, put on goalkeeping gloves and a peaked hat and made the save. But them's the rules, aren't they? Them's the rules.
Yeah, and he does make a move towards.
Oh, he
the ball
does.
with
No, I'm not complaining
even,
about the decision. It's just that.
It was the first half in the away leg, wasn't it? That did it for this. And this is where he was asked earlier in the week.
Let's be truthful.
Yeah, Guardiola was invited by a journalist early in the week to kind of explain his thinking a little bit more with the lineup in Madrid, and he launched on something of a rant about not wanting to explain himself to anyone. I'm sure he had a plan. I'm sure there was sound logic behind, because he's a very intelligent guy, an analytical guy, and there's always a reason for everything he does. But in hindsight, which is the benefit that we have that he didn't, I do think starting essentially just 2 midfielders and 4 attackers away to Real Madrid was not the move, especially given the strength they have on the counter as well. It was very odd.
We give Pep Guardiola all of his flowers, all of his props, regularly and correctly. And then you can also say, asterisk, he does have occasional brain fades in knockout competitions in Europe. We've seen it more than once. And look, he can say I'm picking on him, whatever, but that is, I think those are also the facts. Which
it'll be interesting what he does on Sunday, won't it, in the cup final?
Yeah, it will be, because of course Arsenal again is one of those teams who you have to, as we talked about in the previous segment, they're very, very good defensively, and you have to break them down. I also wonder if we have time to do this really, but they do play differently, Manchester City now, than they did under the sort of peak years of Guardiola.
Yeah.
And some of that is to do with the fact they have Erling Haaland up front, who probably can't press like someone like Aguero did, because
they don't have Kevin De Bruyne, who could find every lock is pickable to Kevin, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, but they also don't. If you look at their front line, a lot of these guys are not as aggressive off the ball in terms of pressing as the guys they had before. So people end up getting at them a little bit more. They're not able to strangle the game in the way they did before, and then it's kind of up to the back line to hold off. Now, if you look back at when they won the treble, they almost like played with 5 centre halves. You know, you had Rodri at his very, very best, and then you had Stones in this sort of hybrid role, and then you had 3 more centre halves at the back there. So if people were able to run at them, it was like, okay, good luck with that, because we have some really strong guys here. The
That
current
cup final,
backline,
by the
with
way,
all due respect, they're not quite the same.
That cup final you mentioned is live here on talkSPORT, as is tonight's game in the new camp, as I guess I've got to learn to call it, where Newcastle attempt to overcome Barcelona. There's an argument, Lars, that in the two Anthony's, Elanga and Gordon and Harvey Barnes, they've got enough pace, Newcastle, to take advantage of Barcelona's ludicrous high line. What chance do you give the Magpies?
It's a really interesting game. No, you're Danny, because really, okay, let's be very clear from the start here. You're playing a team that has unbelievable attacking quality in their team. There's definitely a version of this where Lamine Yamal just kind of skips past a couple of players and puts it in the top corner, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Like that happens sometimes when you play Barcelona. But throughout the season, you know, they've lost some games. They lost to Sevilla back in October. They lost to Real Sociedad. They lost badly to Atletico Madrid. They are a team that I think have certain weaknesses, and one that they play with a very, very, very high line that we know from reporting after that loss to Atletico Madrid back in December. Back in February. The players held a meeting with the coach to talk about like this high line. Maybe there are some games where we need to like balance it out a little bit. But so far they're steaming ahead, and there's so much pace, like you say, in this Newcastle attack. I have a funny feeling they've got a decent chance of doing something here, Newcastle, to be honest.
Well, we'll find out, won't we, live here on talkSPORT this evening. It's been an education, Lars, and more importantly, it's been a joy, as always. Lars Severson there with his thoughts on Boda's departure and Manchester City's departure and the hopes for Newcastle tonight. Thanks to him for joining us. And we bring you 3 huge Champions League games across the talkSPORT network tonight. From 5 o'clock on talkSPORT, you can hear live coverage of Barcelona against Newcastle, that very match. And then immediately we'll go into Liverpool against Galatasaray from 8 o'clock. Another huge game. Then over on talkSPORT 2, you can hear the still wide open tie between Tottenham and Atletico Madrid. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Don't laugh, Charlie.
You're making me laugh, Danny. It's your fault.
If you want to hear the rest of Drive, with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent, then they will be live on YouTube and on your smart TV from 4 o'clock all the way through to 7 p.m. In the meanwhile, you're listening to Baker and Kelly on to Kelly and Baker, it says here, on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation.
Manchester United legend Nicky Butt has recently come out saying the club must give Bruno Fernandes anything he wants, is the quote, in order to keep him there amid continued links to Saudi Arabia. Fernandes, for me, Gabby, has been absolutely tremendous. He's now just 4 assists off the Premier League record and continues to prove just how important he is to that Manchester United side. He has, mate, you can say what you like, and myself and a few others, I wasn't necessarily happy with him with some of the throwing the hands up and all that stuff. You know, it's probably maybe a more European thing or a foreign thing that they do. And there was things like that you know would probably annoy me a little bit if I was a teammate of his. However, by far and away the most important thing is his ability on the pitch and how he's handled it. And I think he's been, if not the one constant in Manchester United,
100%.
You know, he's been tremendous, mate, hasn't he?
And I'm scared to think where Manchester United would have been over the last 5 years, and especially this season, without Bruno Fernandes 27 Premier League appearances, Ali. 7 goals, 16 assists.
Wow.
No matter how bad they've been, he's turned up. But I said this in a previous show, Ali, a few months ago. He's 32 in September.
Yep.
He's won 1 FA Cup, 1 League Cup for Manchester United.
Yep.
Could he leave Manchester United one day and look back and say, did I waste my best years at Manchester United? Not because you look at someone like De Bruyne, won it all at Manchester City. Bruno Fernandes, he's that good, deserved to leave the Premier League, winning the Premier League, and also Champions League. For me, he's that good, Ali.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. Arsenal are being backed to do the quadruple this season by our very own chief football anchor, Adrian Durham.
At the end of this season, it's going to say Arsenal Premier League champions, possibly going to say Champions League winners, FA Cup winners, League Cup winners. They could have all 4.
Into the last 8 of the Champions League after an Eze stunner, talkSPORT's Danny Murphy says he's far better suited to playing at 10, especially without the ball.
In the middle of the park, it's little short, sharp movements, and I think Arteta's worked with him on the defensive stuff. I think Ali was talking about it in commentary last night, and he made a great point. He looks like he's willing to do. He's very proactive with his defending now, where he was very reactive before.
With big Saudi interest in Bruno Fernandes, the United captain is being offered some advice by his former Portugal teammate, Jose Font.
He's thriving again, so why not staying until the rest of your career? Because, you know, one of the best clubs in the world.
Elsewhere today, League One strugglers Rotherham have sacked their manager Matt Hamshaw. International League South, where Andy Carroll takes interim charge of Dagenham and Redbridge. That follows the dismissal of Lee Bradbury. And the Senegalese government have accused CAF of corruption after the AFCON was awarded to Morocco. Journalist and barrister Asasu Abayuwan has told talkSPORT the ref should have abandoned the game.
If he had done it on the pitch that day, nobody would have argued with it. He had the right to do that. But if he exercised his discretion to continue with the game, his decision is final.
There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Sir Keir Starmer's offered condolences to the families of 2 people who've died, and a former MP's been charged with possessing Class A and Class B drugs. The news team has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. The tyre transfer window is hotting up, and we've signed a multi-generational talent with Continental Tyres. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
A warm sunny afternoon for much of the UK, cloudy in northwestern parts though.
Detective music. We like this. We think this is good detective music, Danny.
Yep. Do you want to guess what that instrument making that noise is?
Ooh,
it's absolutely people across 70s music.
Not a moog.
Exactly what
is it a moog? It's not a moog.
It's a clavinet.
Oh,
That's
a clavinet. Yeah,
Look it up. It's a keyboard that makes a very particular sound that every funk band and latterly rock band of the 1970s had one of those making that walk wank wang noise.
I like the sound of the guy with he has sort of a tube in his mouth. And
vocoder. It's a vocoder. You're doing.
Which song am I doing on the vocoder there, Danny?
You're doing "Show Me the Way to Go," aren't you?
That's it.
I want you. Show me the way.
Yes. See if Kitch can find it. See if you can find it, Kitch. We'll play
Peter Frampton.
Peter Frampton. That's what I'm doing.
From Frampton Comes Alive.
That's it. What an album that is.
His world-rogering double album. Once when we on Q Magazine, we interviewed Peter Frampton 20 years after that record was, as I say, one of the biggest selling records of the year, and we spent It's a monthly magazine. We spent fully 3 weeks trying to work out how to spell across a double-page spread. Wak, 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 wow. There was a lot of fighting in a pub about how to spell wak, 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 wow.
This is why I like doing a show with you. There's you and Paul Hawksby, who I could go, what song am I thinking about here?
Oh, yeah.
And you'd both get it immediately.
Wak, 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 wak. You're listening to Kelly and Baker. Wak, 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 wak.
I think Kit's going to find
here
it. Here it comes.
Sport.
Here it is. What a tune. Turn it up. Oh, yeah.
Now, the problem with this for Peter is that the vocoder, essentially, you feed the voice, your own voice, back up the amplification into your mouth where you can shape the sound.
The sound, yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of it more recently, all set off by Cher's, I Believe, where she had the vocoder went out of fashion.
If you believe in
and I'll tell you
life
for
after
why.
love.
Do you believe in love? Wak, 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 wow. If you... The vocoder went out of fashion for about 20 years. It's now back. The reason for that was Peter Frampton's doing Frampton Comes Alive. He's playing a giant stadium and he's got a huge rig behind him.
Yeah.
They are feeding the amplified noise back into his mouth for him to shape the sounds by moving his tongue.
Quite an analog version of it, isn't it?
Unfortunately, of course, the vibration was knocking his teeth out because all this noise is going. He's got about 400 billion watts of sound going back into his mouth. And so the noise you're actually hearing is wop, 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 clink, as another tooth falls out.
Where there's blame, there's a claim, Danny. I reckon he could. He could definitely sue. Have you been affected by vocoders?
He made plenty of money out of that record. He's all right. Listen, you wanted to talk, and I've got a few exhibits here.
Oh, good.
You wanted to talk. There's that great story, as there always is, once a year, about somebody who finds a jar of something. I've got to be careful what I say. A jar of something in the back of the cupboard.
I have, it was in Devon, and here it is. It's a 70-year-old tin of beef dripping, which has been up Everest. This can of colonial beef dripping, taken on the 1953 journey up the world's tallest mountain by Sir Edmund Hillary, is up for auction in Exeter, and it must be still in there. Would you still eat it, Danny? Is it preserved in a can like that? Can you still eat a beef?
I suppose technically you could. Look, I think historically the oldest frozen food ever eaten was my brother Michael, who, when he was clearing out his garden shed, they had one of those chest freezers, found at the very bottom of it a chub of liver sausage from Sainsbury's, which he used to love. They've long since discontinued the chub. It was 14 years out of date. He took it in, thawed it out, and fried it and ate it. And he's all right. He's still here.
No.
He's still here.
How was he? Yeah, no, he's still now. How was he the next morning or like the afternoon? I don't know what I've eaten. Maybe it was
I didn't check if he went straight into some kind of nuclear facility afterwards.
That sounds like something you would be good for. But equally, for chub.
It's still going up Everest as well, isn't it? Because when they went to the South Pole recently, they found one of Shackleton's relay stations, and they found boxes of biscuits there, crackers, perfectly well preserved, because they've been in such low temperatures the whole time. Again, though, would you actually open the top and say,
You'd be tempted.
You'd be tempted to hand it to your mate and say, yeah, have one, mate, they're lovely, and before you tried it.
Have a bit of this beef dripping. Yeah. So what have you got in your cupboards, Danny?
Oh, well, two things. Look, first of all, a very stupid thing. We were talking about, what's the oldest thing in your house other than myself? Obviously, I've got books and records, but they don't really count because they're archives, aren't they?
Well,
but Charlie, obviously, I am interested in a whole lot of very different things. I'm about to hold up to the camera now. I mean, of course, I've got a bloody fossil in my house. Look at that.
Look at that. Wow.
Look at the teeth on that. It's
where's that from? Not from Lyme Regis, is it? No, where's that
somewhere
from?
Down in my wife got it because she knows I'm really interested. I've got quite a few fossils. So this one's about 3 billion years old, or whatever, 300 million years old.
Yeah.
But
That's the teeth of something, isn't it? Teeth of something.
Yeah, look at the teeth on that again. Let me see. This is why you should be watching us on YouTube.
Exactly.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that. Beautiful, isn't it?
Beautiful.
But much more sort of sensibly. It's only last night because when this came up, I hadn't prepared for this. I was shuffling around in the kitchen to make myself a cup of tea late at night, and for some reason I was at the back of the cupboard. Now the lady wife keeps the cupboards pretty regimented, pretty militarily organised, and there I found a mug.
Okay.
And there it is in my hand. that mug, it's a black mug with the Batman symbol on it.
Yeah, okay.
I acquired that at the launch party for Batman when it came out in New York in 1989.
Fabulous.
Now, I seem to break 2 cups a week in the sink, right? How has this one cup survived 3.5 decades?
That's it, move it a little bit further towards you. That's it, Danny. There it is. Yeah, wow. Look at that. It survived.
Yeah, lovely, isn't it?
The bat signal went up for it, Danny. It's been no one knows how Batman survives. They've got no
trying
special
to see what company made it at the bottom, but it's black. I can't tell. But
so that's the print. Is that the Prince?
Yes, that was from the print. That's what I was over there doing.
Yeah.
About Prince and the soundtrack and all the rest of it. And so, of course, we bought all the memorabilia. But that was at the launch party, and that Batman cup has survived intact, pristine, trademark. Let me just show the writing there.
Yeah.
Trademark 1989. Come on, Danny.
Other way, Danny.
There's the camera.
Yeah, there is.
All those years on TV not wasted. Trademark 1989 DC.
I think you were
Comics
wasted on quite a few of the times. If I remember, Danny, you were wasted.
Yeah. You're thinking about that Channel 4 show. Yes, very good, Charlie. Yes. God, I don't think I could drink as much now in a week as I used to drink during that show.
Now you've got that cup out. It won't last 2 minutes.
Oh no, I guarantee. So somewhere during the show, I'll drop it and you'll hear kadank.
And that's the end of that.
What's the oldest thing in your house, Charlie?
Oh well, I have lots of Torquay United memorabilia, which just now lives in the. But my granddad kept the very first ever Friday night floodlit match between Torquay United and the Pick of the Southwest.
Right.
I've got the poster of it. So I have
sounds beautiful.
It's printed on old paper. It's A3. No, A2.
Right.
It's A2. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I've often thought I could part with that, but it looks so great on the wall that I'm like, no, I know it's original. That it's and it literally says "Pick of the Southwest v Torquay United." And I think I can't think when it is. It's late 50s, 60s, I think.
Yeah.
But it's when we just got floodlights, So it's a beautiful thing. And I've also got my grand's 78 player, which is a sort of chest height mahogany cabinet that takes the old needles. I've got hundreds of 78s. I mean, it drives my wife mad, if I'm honest. She was like, "When do we have to keep that? Why is that in the house?" It's a big bit of ugly furniture.
I'm going to join that ancient world of your grandma to not the modern world, but to the thing that changed culture. When the Beatles came along, you could still buy the Beatles' first 3 or 4 singles in India on 78s.
No.
Yeah, you can. So you need to save up and buy Please Please Me on 78 so you can play it on your thing at home.
And they survived, Danny, because they're so brittle. They're so brittle, the records.
Look up on eBay right now and see if there's one available because they go for huge money. But yes, the very first Beatles records were available on 78s.
To turn it up,
the world has changed.
To turn this 78 player up, you've got two doors and you open this little cabinet and it turns it up. And then you close the doors to turn it down.
Oh, that is fantastic. Very good indeed. Now, you're listening to the Antiques Roadshow and you're listening to Kelly and Baker on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Explore the full collection of garden power tools with top brands such as Karcher and Makita. The next stop, everybody, is Toolstation.
I mean, many notes of caution coming in at this stage. Sam, Thierry Henry, he was saying, I was there when Rooney did it, and when someone told me he was going to have the career that he had, I would have said, well, maybe. He says, it's a challenge not just for Arsenal, but for English football. Let's not get overexcited. I mean, there's an element of, hang on. Let's just be careful with this boy.
Yeah, I mean, you should be careful with all young players. I mean, ironically, they've got another kid coming through in the under-13s called Luis Muniz, who's potentially even better than Max Dellman. They've got a conveyor belt of these kids coming out of Arsenal for some reason or another. But insofar as he is concerned, listen, he is. If they can shut out the background noise, I mean, I saw his father having a go at a coach, and it seems to me that there's a very strong family unit, as there was a strong family unit around Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
So if you can get the right people around you, the biggest challenge for this kid is that he is not distracted from his football and does not have the wrong voices around him that are creating chaos between him and the club, him and opportunities commercially, and all that sort of stuff. Get him wrapped around the right sort of people. He's in a big club. One of the best things of being a good player in a big club is that big clubs don't... If you're a young player, it's a superstar in a smaller club. I had it with Victor Moses. I had it with other players that were really significant players. And there's always the bigger clubs are circling around. There ain't many bigger clubs than Arsenal. So with due respect, they've got him in the right space because they're a big football club. So there's no necessity for him to leave that football club. I know we've seen Cole Palmer leave early stage in his development to go to Chelsea because he couldn't get the opportunities.
Yeah.
Downman's already in the side. And given the way he plays and given the ability he has and given the fact they're already looking to him to go and affect games, it bodes well for him.
Win a VIP trip to the British Grand Prix on talkSPORT.
Yeah, listen up, Formula One fans. We're down to the final week. We want to send you and a mate to Silverstone on July the 5th for a British Grand Prix experience like no other. Forget general admission, we're putting you right in the heart of it with the full Racing Green trackside experience. Experience Formula One in the best way possible. You're getting exclusive grandstand seats, plus inner track access to watch the drivers roll into the paddock. And we've got the whole day sorted with all-day street food, a fully open bar, and much more. Now, this ends Friday at 4 p.m, so Charlie's going to tell you how to enter.
For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50, plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close this Friday at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now.
Running in the shadows. The Shane. Charlie said doing a lot of singing today. It's very good to hear. Because, of course, he is a highly competent professional singer. Has done it on the stage, and in his upcoming tour, 1 or 2 tickets still available.
well, quite a lot of tickets still available, yeah.
Will you hoof and chant for us? Will you sing and dance?
Chant, and there's magic, there's trumpet in it. There's everything you want in it. There's magic. I'm learning some tricks for it, Danny.
Prestidigitation, excellent. Okay, now listen. If the story about the 70-year-old beef dripping in the back of the cupboard is a staple for the tabloids,
£100 they reckon, Danny. Anyway, carry on.
That's nothing, is it? With all due respect. Exactly. Much less expected was the story that Stormzy, one of Britain's leading musicians, hurt himself this week playing netball.
Yeah.
Now, netball is traditionally a game, certainly in my school days, played by men. To tell us how that's changing and to talk all about the game, and we're joined by the captain of the men's netball, England men netball team, James Thompson-Boston. Good afternoon, James.
Hello, James.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're really welcome.
Did you injure Stormzy just to get the PR?
You know what? Stormzy's club, because it says he's playing for a men's netball club somewhere in London. That's still a question mark for everyone who's playing netball at the moment. So people are trying to track him down, trying to figure out where this injury happened.
Yeah.
Well, listen, first of all, let me warn you, James, that because I was married back in the day to a netball international, I know rather more about this sport than is perhaps normal. I know all about goal attack, goal defence, centre, etc., and all the rest of it, and standing with your hand up in the air over the ball like that. Let me ask you a question then. Look, we shouldn't beat around the bush. Let's talk sensibly. This has always been, from schools onwards, a sport that has been thought to be a women's sport for whatever reason. How popular is it among men, and why is this changing?
Well, yeah, you were so right. This has always been a female-led sport, a sport that was traditionally for females to play. And recently, especially in the UK, since 2020, the growth of men's netball has just skyrocketed. I mean, I'm here advocating it for it. Obviously, I've got a huge bias. But just to put it into numbers, look, when we first started in 2020, there was only 3 men's clubs. And now for 2027, it's projected there's going to be over 100. So as more men step onto the court and actually experience what it's like to play netball, I think they get the bug and they decide this is something they actually want to play. And it's not just a sport for females.
I've got a friend, Laura Lex, who's a very good comedian, and she's written a book about netball, playing netball, and she's got a theory that the position you play in netball really affects the sort of rest of your life and is really personality led. Is it the same in the men's game, James?
Yeah, I think, look, whatever bib you get, it sort of does say that you've got a certain type of personality trait. Goal attacks traditionally are seen as someone who's very popular, maybe a bit more of a princess. If you're putting yourself in wing D, you might be a bit more of a gritty player, a bit of a rat, I would say, someone who's ready to hustle the whole game. So, yeah, I do think that it does affect you the rest of your life if you take it on.
Why would men choose to play it rather than, say, for instance, James, basketball?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, it's a question that we get asked all the time. They are completely different sports, and I'm sure married to an ex-international, you would know that there are a lot of different rules in it. I was a basketball player. I grew up playing basketball, and when I switched across to netball and learned all those rules, I realized that it's a highly competitive sport. It's very athletic. It has a lot of rules that you need to get through your head very, very quickly. And once you get all of that right, suddenly you feel like it's all clicked and it's something that you want to do more and more. And I don't know many guys who have stepped on, be it socially or at a higher level, who has come on, put that bib on, finished the game and gone, this one's not for me. They always come back.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit more accessible, isn't it? It's more accessible, Danny, than
I'm going to ask you about that, because obviously basketball these days, you've got to be towering to play it. What if you're like Charlie and you're, say, one of the last people to know that it started to rain? Can you play netball if you're not a hulking great brute?
You can. It really is a sport for everyone. I would say that if positionally for people, you've got shooters and defenders, and they are on 2 ends of the court, obviously playing against each other. The mid-court is about speed. So it's about speed, change.
There you go, Charlie.
Charlie, you're on.
I'd be good. I fancy myself at it, if I'm honest. So this is obviously good because Stormzy has a sort of quite a macho image, I would suggest, and the fact that he's playing it and playing it with his friends and gives good PR to the sport for men who may want to go and play.
Yeah, look, I think one of the big barriers for people to actually come and play netball, especially men, it was predominantly always men, the big barrier is the stigma that it is a female-only sport. And that we don't shy away from the fact that people think that, but realistically, we want to build this sport out and make it a sport that everyone can experience, because it is fantastic. There is a bid in for it to end up in the Olympics in 2032. And for that to happen, we do need people to come on and experience it, especially guys up and down the UK to come on, just do it at social, give it a go. If you want, there's a place you can go and check it out. If you go to the England Men's and Mixed Netball Association website, there's a little postcode finder. Chuck your postcode. It'll give you a place to step on court. Give it a go. And what's the worst? Worst thing that can happen is you've done 60 minutes of running around for fun.
And are we any good, James? Where do you stand in the world rankings?
But unsurprisingly, Australia has got a bit of a head start on us, as they always seem to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to close that gap in the next couple of years. But I would say we sit around fourth or third throughout the world. There has yet been any world ranking games yet.
Who's number one as a matter of interest?
New Zealand, Jamaica, New Zealand.
I'm going to say it's Australia. In the mix of that sort of top five, you've got your Jamaica, you've got New Zealand, and there'll be South Africa in there, and we're somewhere in that mix as well.
Okay, well, I don't think you'll have any problem finding the website. If you just put in chaps playing netball, you'll be there. Thanks to James Thomason,
thank you, James.
Boston, for coming and telling us about that. And that was a really interesting piece, set up by a piece of nonsense about Stormzy. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very, very much to him for joining us here, where you're continuing to listen to Kelly and Baker. And next up, perhaps, I think a little bit more of a serious interview. I'm sure James won't mind me saying that. We're going to be talking to the Irish professional boxer, Michael Conlan, who's got a big, big, big fight coming up. That's next here on talkSPORT.
Ruben Amorim was a winning manager, but clearly not the right fit for Man United, irrespective of the fact he was a European winning manager because he won the Portuguese league.
Right.
So I'm kind of with Roy, but
you're with Roy. I mean, he's not doing anything to rule himself out of contention.
No, but also what Roy's picture is trying to extrapolate it. And I know there's a lot of cachet around Steve Holland and so on and so forth, but he was part of the England setup that flattered to deceive, that didn't win anything when they could have done. So whilst he might be an excellent coach, we're still looking at a bunch of people, with respect to being Michael Carrick being an elite footballer, that as from a management point of view have got what on their resume. So it's part of the conversation, not the only part of it. But if Carrick goes to the end of the season and United finish third, or even, dare I say it, catch City and finish second, then there's going to be a clamour of people suggesting that he's proven himself, that he's had 18, 19 games, and out of that 18, 19 games, or whatever many he's had, he's done X, Y, Z. I mean, they are far better for him being there, but that's because common sense has prevailed. You haven't got a manager that seems to want to riddle himself into cul-de-sacs and play a group of players that can't play the way he wants them to play. You've got a manager that's ultimately under no real pressure, because everyone thinks that United were... The pressure will come now. Now United are third. Now the pressure's now, because everyone's going to expect... United fans are going to go, you better finish inside the top four now, because you're there now.
But yeah, I take on board what Simon's saying, Martin, but if he secures Champions League football for United, what exactly is going to rule him out?
Yeah,
What's going to rule him
I get it. I do. Roy's a respected voice, and I do take the point that this group are pretty well the same group of players, finished quite low down the table.
talkSPORT's chief football anchor Adrian Durham thinks Arsenal are now favourites for both the big ones.
At the end of this season, it's going to say Arsenal Premier League champions, possibly going to say Champions League winners, FA Cup winners, League Cup winners. They could have all four.
They're into the Champions League quarter-finals now after Eze's stunning goal. Danny Murphy says he's much better suited to playing in the 10, especially without the ball.
In the middle of the park, it's little short, sharp movements, and I think Arteta's worked with him on the defensive stuff. I think Ali was talking about it in commentary last night, and he made a great point. He looks like he's willing to do it. He's very proactive with his defending now, where he was very reactive before.
With big Saudi interest in Bruno Fernandes, his former Portugal teammate Jose Fonte has some advice.
He's thriving again, so why not staying until the rest of your career? Because, you know, one of the best clubs in the world.
And we're told the African Federation's decision to take away Senegal's AFCON trophy will be overturned. Morocco have now been declared winners because of Senegal's walkout in the final. Journalist and barrister Assasu Abayoana told White and Jordan the ref should have abandoned the game.
If he had done it on the pitch that day, nobody would have argued with it. He had the right to do that. But if he exercised his discretion to continue with the game, his decision is final.
Meanwhile, some bookies are already paying out on a Morocco win. More on all this at talksport.com.
Yeah, well, regular listeners will know that I'm broadcasting to you from what is now very sunny Kilkenny in the south of Ireland, a few hundred miles north of me in Belfast. I hope the sun is shining as well. What I will say is that boxing is enjoying a real renaissance on this island, not least live and in-person boxing. On Friday night in Belfast, Michael Conlan takes on the American Kevin Walsh in yet another big boxing programme live here somewhere in Ireland. We had Dublin last weekend. I'm delighted to say that Michael joins us now. Good afternoon, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
Oh, good lads. How's things?
Yeah, good. Thank
really,
you.
really
Very
good. And great to see you. All set for Friday night. Well, it's a bit late now if you're not, isn't it, Michael? You all set?
I'd be a bit later. It wasn't. No, I'm ready to go. Feeling really good. Looking forward to Friday, putting on a masterclass performance and just getting in there, getting the win and getting on towards that world title again.
And as I say, I was just saying, you know, so many boxers from Ireland have had to go so often to fight in Germany, but particularly in England and beyond. What does it mean to fight in your hometown, Michael?
That's special. You know, I've fought here numerous times now.
Sure.
And I've been a part of that renaissance of Irish boxing, bringing big shows back to Ireland. I was in Dublin in my last fight, and then the show last weekend. It was a fantastic watch. Now I'm bringing another one back to Belfast. So I'm honoured. It's an honour, as always, you know, fighting here in front of your home fans, meaning they don't have to travel, meaning they don't have to lose out in expenses for hotels, flights, and stuff, and obviously the party as well, which they all love. But now it's at home and it's great.
What threat does your opponent Kevin Walsh carry, Mick?
He's a dangerous guy. Look, he's got heavy hands. He's got that undefeated mentality, and he's coming to win. You know, he's not coming to lie down. He's obviously ranked with WBC, which helps push my ranking up and get me towards the world title. That's why he was chosen. So yeah, listen, it's a potentially tough fight if I don't perform, but if I perform, it will be comfortable, and I believe.
Mick, in these days of artificial intelligence, YouTube, all the rest of it, the game has changed, isn't it? You must know everything there is to know about Kevin Walsh, whereas that might not have been the case 15, 20 years ago.
Yes, you got so much information nowadays with even the likes of YouTube and stuff where you go on and watch videos, and that's been around a while. But even now, like if I put it in my phone and ChatGPT, how do I beat Kevin Walsh? It could give me a breakdown if I wanted that, but I don't need that. That's just something. No, I listen to my coach. My coach does the studying, and I just follow the instructions.
Okay, well,
Josh Warrington joined us at Cheltenham last week. Mick, I know you fought him. He was considering his future, wondering what he was going to do next. You're 34 now. How long do you think you've got left in your career?
I didn't fight Josh. I fought Lee Wood.
Oh, sorry,
Josh. But yeah. Listen,
oh yeah, sorry.
I'm not going to be in the game for another fucking 10 years. You know what? Till I get a world title, I keep winning. I'll stay in the game till I get the world title. But if I was to lose, I would say that's enough. That's it. I don't want to be around the game. I know how dangerous this game is, and you give your life to the sport. I'm boxing 27 years. It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I always says, when I came back, when I made this last run towards the world title, if I was to lose, I would call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. But I believe I have enough to win a world title, and that's why I'm still here.
And when I see chaps like you talking about the game, skilled warriors, that's how I always think about professional boxers, skilled warriors. And then you see now, YouTubers and influencers putting on gloves and earning a lot of money. Michael, pretending, I guess it's partially pretending to box. What do you think about that phenomenon that we're now seeing of people who haven't been amateurs, haven't trained really, just suddenly decide they're going to take up the gloves? Is it good for the game because it brings a lot of publicity, or is it bad because it leads people perhaps to underestimate just how devoted you've got to be and how dangerous it is?
It's a bit of both. I think that I never knock a man who's earning money, and if money like that, then putting the gloves on, no matter if they haven't fought and they haven't put the hours in that most fighters do, that's where you go, okay, listen, I know guys who've been boxing so long, for all their lives probably, and I'm not earning anything of boxing. Then you get a guy coming in who has a bit of a following, does a bit of boxing and earns stupid money, but that's the profile they've built. They've built their own profiles, and it's public demand, isn't it? So you can't really begrudge them. But at the same time, you got to feel sorry for the guys who have given their lives to the sport and sometimes walk away with zero.
I mean, I don't blame George Foreman, but I often think back to that time when George Foreman was world heavyweight champion at 50, and you thought, this is going to lead all kinds of people to believe that this is easier than it looks. We all know it isn't. Actually, why don't we hear somebody who's coming towards the end of their career? The former IBF flyweight champion Sonny Edwards joined Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs in the studio as recently as yesterday. They discussed the prospect of Josh Warrington retiring after his recent loss to one of Michael's former opponents, as you heard there, Lee Wood.
Yeah, and it's your spirit, really. As much as you train your body to do the things that it does, it's your mind that controls it. It's your mind that lets you push to certain sort of extremes of effort. And I was commentating Lee Wood, Josh Warrington fight, and I actually felt like Josh had a lot more physically left in him than Lee did with the showing. I just think stylistically and tactically, I think Lee got it better.
Yeah, well, the mental side of the game is so important.
I was just going to say to Mick there, look, we all know how hard you all work, but you still have motivation. You've talked about world title fights and all the rest of it. What's the hardest thing now for you? Is it the getting up early in the morning to do the physical training, or is there a mental side to this that the part of you will think, surely I could do something easier with my life?
I've done really well in boxing financially and stuff, so I'm not boxing for money. My dream is to be a world champion. The hardest thing for me now, my kids are now 10 and 7. My daughter actually turns 11 this month. And the hardest thing for me now is leaving them, because when I took the year off, I was around them every single day. And I've probably missed, I would say, with training camps, around 70%, 60 to 70% of their lives because of training camps.
Yep.
But being around there for that full year and then leaving them again to go back to training camps, that's been the hardest part, if I'm going to be honest. But I know it's of the job. I know there's a goal at the end of it to be a world champion. If I make it, fantastic. If I don't make it, then so be it. That's the way the cookie will crumble. But you know, boxing's been nice to me, but it's also been very cruel to me. And it's a sport that you can never love because it will never love you back. The dangers of this game are too dangerous. I would never want my kids to box.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, when you see the sons of ex-boxers, you know, the Bens and the Eubanks, I often wonder what's going through their fathers' minds because they know exactly
how hard it is.
What is happening. We're in a world where boxing is changing very profoundly. We already talked about the entertainers coming into it, Mick. What about the way it's being promoted? You know, we've seen that now, the arrival of Dana White from the world of mixed martial arts and entertainment coming into it. Everything is moving, everything is changing all at once in boxing.
It's the world of boxing, isn't it? Everything it's the Wild West, the red light district of sport. Anything can happen, anybody can be involved. With the likes of Dana White coming and stuff coming in, the only thing that really worried me about that was the Muhammad Ali Act trying to be eroded away. I don't think it has been fully eroded, but there's been things changed to it on their side. I don't agree with it. I don't like how he's doing his shows at the minute where every kit is like uniform and they're all wearing the same kind of colours or kind of, there's no sponsors. A lot of these fighters coming up, the only way they earn real money is through the sponsorships they get, and they're not allowed them. That's a bit of a shame. I don't think that lasts too long that way, and I think with Dana coming in, you know, his business model of the UFC has to change for boxing. And how long will they be able to keep that up if Turkey decides one day, okay, I'm finished with boxing, I don't want to do it no more, and then Dana White's got to do it himself? I don't know what harm. It's forever changing boxing, and it's entertaining at the moment, if I'm going to be honest, and it's good for fighters at the moment because people are getting paid probably more money than what they would usually get paid.
Yeah.
But it's a great time, and very optimistic about it all because you know I'm for everything for the fighter, and if the fighter is benefiting and if they're getting paid more money, fantastic. But I'm wary of how long that will last.
Well, listen, as you say, it's an ever-changing world. What doesn't change is the squared circle and a fighter in one corner and a fighter in the other. And that's what we're going to see on Friday night in Belfast. All I can do, Michael, is wish you the very best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck, Nick.
Against Kevin Walsh. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Yeah, Michael Conn, doesn't he talk interestingly about
really
boxing,
well.
which, well, you know, literally you could throw a load of possibilities up in the air written on pieces of paper, and any combination of them could happen in professional boxing as we speak. As I said, the only thing that doesn't change is those people facing each other across that canvas, and that's why it remains such a brilliant sport to watch. Thanks to Michael Conlon for joining us. Next, we're joined by Ed Aarons, the Guardian journalist and author of Made in Africa, to talk about the latest and that huge story, controversial too, that the winners of the recent AFCON in Morocco, Senegal, have been stripped of the trophy, and it has been awarded to, go on, take a guess, Morocco.
Is getting it tonight. A shocking week for the Chelsea.
What do you mean?
Pumped. They got slapped by PSG.
What do you mean?
Got slapped by Newcastle. And then got slapped with a transfer ban.
What do you mean?
It's been a slapping week. Slap, 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 slap. Chelsea, slap. Get your calls in, you want to have your you say? 03 717 22 33 44.
Do you know what's amazing? Before the game, it wasn't me. We had a meeting with the referee. My assistant goes in. The first thing he talks about is our huddle.
Chelsea 0, Newcastle 1. It's just one straight long pass through the middle. It really is awful defending from Chelsea. And when Murphy lays the ball off, there is Anthony Gordon literally to walk the ball home.
My players made a decision that they wanted to be around the ball, to respect the ball.
What signs have you seen?
I've seen signs.
What signs?
Encouraging signs.
What's happening?
Hello, mate.
How are you?
I'm all right. I've had better weeks.
Yeah? What happened?
Not gonna lie.
What happened?
Do you know when you know things are bad? Is where Spurs pick up a point and got beat by 5-2 in the middle.
Don't worry about me, mate.
You lot have had a better week than Chelsea.
Don't worry about us. What happened at Chelsea,
That's
mate?
when you know things are bad.
What's happened?
Well, you know, it happens, mate. Bad weeks happen.
No.
That's a bad week.
Yeah, well, you're woken up this morning, not necessarily to the news, football-wise, that, I don't know, that Chelsea had been whacked in the Champions League, that Real Madrid had put out their eternal foes, Manchester City, but to the news that, having followed the tournament so closely here on talkSPORT in January, that the winners of the AFCON, the African Cup of Nations, Senegal, have been stripped of the title, and the cup has gone to the hosts, Morocco.
Amazing.
talkSPORT's Nick Ellaby has everything that you need to know.
It's exactly 2 months from one of the craziest finals football has ever seen, with fans talking conspiracy theories about host nation Morocco getting favourable treatment from AFCON refs. Senegal had a late goal ruled out before Morocco were awarded a soft penalty.
Pap Thiaw is taking his players off the pitch. The most extraordinary end to a game.
Pandemonium, fans on the pitch, a 10-minute delay before a VAR check, then Brahim Diaz fluffed his Panenka. Pat Gay won it in extra time for Senegal, but because of that walkout, only Sadio Mane stayed on the pitch. The Moroccan FA appealed the result, and the Confederation of African Football have decided to give Morocco a 3-0 win and the trophy. AFCON tournament regulations state if a team refuses to play, they forfeit the game. Senegal's Moussa Niakate has posted a picture of the trophy on Instagram saying if you want it, come and get it, they're crazy, while the Senegalese FA will appeal the decision at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. What a mess.
Yeah, and it's a mess that's now extended into a diplomatic row as well, with the Senegalese government getting involved the last 24 hours to accuse the Moroccan FA, the African football authorities and indeed the Moroccan government of all kinds of chicanery to try and get a grip on this story, because it really is a tricky one to get a grip on. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Ed Aarons, the Guardian journalist and author of Made in Africa. Ed, I shouldn't be laughing, should I? This is really serious, but what an extraordinary stew of nonsense and mess they've now cooked up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most people, I certainly woke up this morning, sort of did that, thinking, did that happen last night? Did they really go through with it and decide to, hand the tournament to Morocco 2 months, as you were saying, just now,
2 months
after the final? Exactly. I mean, I think that's the biggest bone in contention, how long it's taken to come to this decision. And the Senegalese FA are going to appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and I think they're pretty confident of winning it, just because, if you follow the rules, then if they wanted to strip them of the title, they'd have had to do it with, the referee would have had to abandon the game on the day.
On the day.
Yeah, rather than, and the fact that the game was allowed to continue and then that they went on to win it means that, from their point of view, they think that they've, won it fairly.
Mm. I mean, I'm going to go, Ed, here straight into the controversial element of this. We know that Morocco, in the guise of King Mohammed V, I think he's the fifth, isn't he, have spent a fortune on soccer. And they have the best facilities. We saw them get through to the last stages of the last World Cup. They were the hosts here, and everybody said that this was supposed to be a coronation for this Moroccan team. So Senegal spoiled the party, and now somehow Morocco end up with the trophy. It's a bad, if nothing else, I'm not suggesting corruption, but if nothing else, it's a terrible PR look for the tournament.
Absolutely. And you've got to remember, obviously, Morocco are going to be hosting the next World Cup with Spain and Portugal as well. So that's not too far down the track. But yeah, certainly it seems that there's been a bit of internal pressure in Morocco to, try and get this result reversed. It just seems so unlikely that the CAS is going to come down on the side of CAF here, and that they're going to uphold this decision, because they don't seem to have a legal leg to stand on. But I think from Morocco's point of view, I suppose they were, keen to push, make sure the rules were fulfilled from what they see anyway. But I mean, it does seem like, there's been a lot of reaction against it. As you mentioned, the Senegalese government keen to get involved and looking to investigate alleged corruption within CAF itself. So this is going to the very highest levels.
Kwaku Afari, who works at talkSPORT, has a phrase which is AFCON going to AFCON. It does have a lively history, the tournament, as I'm sure you cover in your book, Ed. I'm surprised by it, but at the same time, I'm not surprised that this has happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go back to the tournament itself, there was a lot of issues with the refereeing from the teams that faced Morocco in the knockout stages. It was Cameroon first, then Nigeria, and then Senegal. They were all sort of arguing that there was some issues with the refereeing, and it kind of all built up to what we saw in the final when Senegal ended up walking off the pitch because they had a goal disallowed and then penalty given against them. But for the continent as a whole, it's really not a good look. That this is all playing out in public, and there's never been a decision like this to strip a title away from a team. So it doesn't look great for African football.
Do they have a case, Danny? You've done more reading than I've done. Do they have a case?
Look, we shouldn't mess around here. Senegal broke the rules as they currently exist about going on and off the pitch. They will argue the whole team didn't leave because I think Sadio Mane someone stayed on the pitch. They broke the rules, but if they were going to, but then the officials, however many were involved, have to say, the game is abandoned. You've been off the pitch for 15 minutes, as we saw. The game is abandoned. And then presumably they would have awarded a 3-0 win and the trophy to Morocco. Once they brought them back out and resumed play, and don't forget, they didn't just play 3 or 4 minutes. They played a whole extra time. They played a whole half an hour of extra football. So, Charlie, my thoughts are that it was wrongly done on the night, but you can't correct the wrong by doing another wrong 2 months down the line, because otherwise it throws the whole of international all football into a tailspin, because anybody could appeal any result at any time.
Yeah, I mean, there is, interestingly, there's a precedent for CAF, who in 2019, the Champions League, African Champions League final, between a Moroccan team and a Tunisian team. The Moroccan team came off the pitch protesting against the decision, but in that case, the referee, they were off for an hour, and then the referee decided to abandon the game,
right,
and award a 3-0 win to the Tunisian team. Now that got taken to CAF, tried to get them to replay the game, but it got taken to CAS, and CAS ruled that they didn't have the jurisdiction to make them do that because the referee had followed the right protocol by abandoning the game in the first place. So I think this is the same sort of situation here, that it's very unlikely that CAS is going to rule on the side of CAF.
Could we see a replay of the game? That would be exciting, wouldn't it?
I think that's very unlikely, but I mean that is probably what.
Would you play again if you were Senegal?
Some people want, but yeah, I dread to think what might happen if they did that.
I suppose CAF will say, well, we can't have just people just walking off the pitch. So this, if this stands,
but the referee was their appointee, and he was the one who allowed the game to go on.
Yeah.
I guess what I'd say to that, but trust me, I left my law degree after 1 year, Charlie, so I may have missed whole points of law that would be pertinent here.
Okay, yeah.
So, Ed, I take it from the words you're speaking that you are, why would you have any inside information? You wouldn't, but you're confident that this will be overturned again by the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Yeah, pretty confident. I mean, I've been speaking to a few people within Africa, within the executive committee today, and the president of the Senegalese Football Federation has really pulled no punches today. I mean, he's described it as sort of a dangerous precedent to give them to award Morocco the result, and just sort of questioning whether CAF's appeals body is a master of the laws validated by FIFA, and it's just completely pointing back to this thing about the referee, and I think they're on pretty strong ground for that, and they are pretty confident they're going to get the decision overturned. I mean, apart from anything, how would it all work? How would they get the trophy back? Do they get the medals back? And all the sort of logistics of the whole thing are just quite ludicrous, really. So,
well, I'm hoping that
I think it'll be resolved soon, hopefully.
I'm hoping that somebody in the mix zone tonight after the game in the new White Hart Lane Stadium asked Pep Sarr, the Spurs midfielder, are you going to be sending your medal back, Pep? I suspect you might get a very curt answer.
Well, there's been a few players who've been on social media saying, come and get it. Come and get my medal if you want it. And yeah, good luck to them.
I'd wear it if I was him tonight on the pitch.
Oh, yeah, wear it on the pitch, yeah. Start with it on. Yeah. All right, listen, thank Ed. Your expertise is totally what we needed here on this issue, because I'm laughing about it because it's so ludicrous. But there are serious threats being made between FAs and countries, so we'll watch this story very closely here on talkSPORT. No doubt we'll have more about it on Trans Europe Express on Sunday night as well from 10 o'clock till a bit later start for Trans Europe Express on Sunday because of the League Cup final and much else besides. Still now to go here on Kelly and Baker. You're listening to the mighty, mighty talkSPORT.
Chelsea handed a suspended transfer ban and fined £10.75 million after secret payments to players and unlicensed agents helped facilitate transfer deals in the Abramovich era. So many people are suggesting here this morning that Chelsea have, in their own eyes, got off with one. Of course, Stefan is with us, and in his words, Stefan, you have said you feel the punishment handed to Chelsea is extremely lenient. But Simon, Can I put this to you? How isolated do you think this was? Illicit payments to players and agents to facilitate transfers. Was this just Chelsea?
I would doubt it. My nose tells me that it's not necessarily an industry standard practice, but notwithstanding that, I still think there's lots of people that operate in certain ways within football that I've seen and been privy to. And my nose tells me that it wouldn't be just isolated to Chelsea. I mean, the reaction to it, if I was in football now and it was my Crystal Palace had been, I remember getting promoted to the Premier League and being summoned to a meeting by Philip French, the head of comms, and Richard Scudamore to advise me how they expected me to behave in the Premier League, which I told them blow them out their arse. So I would have probably been full of outrage at the same time as a balanced commercial mind, knowing that the big six are in part the value in the Premier League. So the balance between this outrage about their inappropriate behaviour would also be in the commercial reality of the value that they add to the league. So, you know, I'd have a bit of both in my mind. But listen, inherently, the liabilities to operate in a certain way have to be governed and enforced by those that are in positions of influence.
Yeah, a ton of stuff to get through between now and the end of the show. The World Cup countdown. Ray Houghton will join us to talk about Liverpool against Galatasaray. We have Paddy's challenge, and we'll preview Spurs against Atletico Madrid. That's all after we bring you the latest sports headlines, and they come to you from Ben Fletcher.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Thank you, Danny. Good afternoon. We're told the quad could be on for Arsenal and the fans won't be bothered by questions over their playing style. talkSPORT's chief football anchor, Adrian Durham, says the Gunners needn't worry about how they get over the line.
Yeah, I think they could win all four. That's because they are effectively getting the job done. Nobody cares. As an Arsenal fan, none of them care about how they get the job done. They just want to get the job done. They don't care that they're like Pulis's Stoke.
talkSPORT's Danny Murphy says the success of Mikel Arteta's season won't be measured by whether they win all four competitions.
If Arsenal win either the Premier League or the Champions League, the season's a success.
Yeah.
They don't have to win both. I know there's a narrative saying they should, and they've got the squad and they've spent in, they're playing well.
Yeah.
If they win either...
If it ends up just the Premier League,
it's
still a big success, right?
Or the Champions League.
Next up for the Gunners, the Carabao Cup final on Sunday, live on talkSPORT. Now, the Senegalese government have accused African football's governing body of corruption. Some bookies have paid out on a Morocco win after the result of the Africa Cup of Nations final was overturned. Journalist and barrister Usasu Ubaiwana hopes the sorry saga serves as a lesson for everyone in African football.
I have shouted and written and talked for years and years about appalling governance and the consequences of appalling governance. Unfortunately, I've been ignored. I've been targeted by some people who are within the football system because of what I say. But now the chickens have come home to roost.
Ubaiwana reckons the Court of Arbitration for Sport will reverse that decision. Into League One, Rotherham have sacked manager Matt Hamshaw and replaced him with Lee Clark until the end of the season. This as Andy Carroll has taken interim charge of Dagenham and Redbridge following the dismissal of Lee Bradbury. There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Meningitis B vaccines are being offered to all students living on the University of Kent's Canterbury campus from today, and the UK is enjoying the hottest day of the year so far. There's more from the news team at 5:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got a wider range of premium tyres than Britain has rainy days. Visit your local centre or book at quickfit.com today.
A bit cloudier in northwestern parts, but warm sunshine for most of us this afternoon.
Welcome back, everybody, to the third and final hour of today's edition of Kelly and Baker. Sitting in for Hawksby and Jacobs, Max as well. There's a whole rotating squad of us now. I think the lads will be very pleased that myself and Charlie have already produced a show to discuss male netball and fossils, and much else besides in between, including
100-year-old beef dripping.
100-year-old beef, absolutely. But we got plenty more to get through in this final hour, including Ray Houghton on Liverpool against Galatasaray, Paddy's challenge with Ben Fletcher, and we'll be previewing Spurs against Atletico Madrid in North London tonight as well. All these games, of course, are available to listen to on the talkSPORT network. So thank you and welcome back once again to Kelly and Baker. Now, serious turn now. Former West Ham striker Mikel Antonio has been speaking exclusively to talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs following his move to Qatar Stars League club Al Salia. I hope I've got the name correctly there. Ben asked him about what it's been like in Qatar given the current war happening in the Middle East.
It's like hearing the fireworks. It's not actually, I don't feel like it's not that scary. Obviously, there was one day, the day it all kicked off, the day when I was meant to do my very first debut on that Saturday. That was a very frightening day where literally you're just hearing bombs and the hotel was just shaking. And that was terrifying. I'm not going to lie. I end up standing up, looking out the window, and you just see flames of the bombs flying towards the American base. And then once it was like being deflected or whatever it was happening, it was just shaking the hotel. That was the only day that I thought was a bit scary for me.
Yeah, Mikel Antonio there. It wasn't very scary until the bomb started hitting the hotel, and then it was more scary. What a guy.
Yeah, wow, what a year for him.
Look, this is part of our World Cup build-up because what's going on in the Middle East right now will affect that, is affecting that, and is being talked about as well. Ed Mallion is a journalist and co-owner of Querétaro FC in Mexico, which will be one of the countries hosting the World Cup. And he joins us now. Hello, Ed.
Hello, Ed there.
How are we doing?
Good, thank
First of all, tell me how to pronounce the name of your club correctly.
Querétaro.
Querétaro, of course it is.
I'm not going full Tim Vickery. No, not for me. Look, what should have been a joyous countdown to what cliche mongers would call a festival of football has been tainted by all kinds of things in the run-up, Ed, not least what is going to happen with Iran. You've got one of the host countries at war, there's another word for it, with one of the qualified nations. What's the very latest on that, as far as you know?
Well, look, it's a wild sequence of events, right? I remember people being panicking around the South Africa World Cup, before Brazil World Cup, when there were protests and things like that. I think most other countries, if they had gone and decapitated two regimes of sovereign states in the months preceding the World Cup, probably would have had the tournament taken off them. But there's a different treatment right now for the USA. And look, the Iran situation, personally, just my opinion from everything I've read, from what I've seen, I find it very difficult to imagine a world where Iran comes to the USA to compete. I think the idea that they could go and move all their games to Mexico, I've tried to look at the logistics of this. I can't see. There are two teams in the whole tournament that play all their games in Mexico currently. That's Mexico and South Korea, both in Group A. The one logistical thing you could do is switch Iran and South Korea. But I don't see why. It would be an incredibly morally benevolent thing for South Korea to do, to say, okay, we'll take a harder group so that Iran don't have to set foot on American soil. But this is the highest level of elite football international competition. Like, I don't see the need or likelihood of South Korea just suddenly deciding they would rather be in a more difficult group. So I just can't see it with Iran.
Because the weird thing for me, Ed, is that before the war broke out, I was saying on another program here on talkSPORT, there's already a problem with Iran because I can see the 25, 26 players being allowed in. I can't see 26 officials being allowed in with them. And that, oddly enough, that automatically goes against FIFA's own diktat that whatever players and officials are officially sanctioned have to be allowed into the country. But as we've seen, FIFA is bending over backwards to appease Donald Trump at every turn. Well, certainly Infantino is.
Yes, and Infantino has been embarrassed, really, because he's, as you say, bent over backwards to try and accommodate Trump and try and suck up to him and all these things. And then he's been embarrassed on the back end because Trump just goes and does what he wants, which is everyone who's ever been in the guy's orbit knows that, right? So to the point on the entourage, I believe that FIFA would be able to protect those people who are within the entourage. The idea of obviously any traveling fans. I mean, look, I don't think there are going to be that many traveling fans in general at the World Cup this summer because people who don't, people don't live here don't realize how expensive it is. Exactly, it's a huge country, very expensive. Like a hotel in Boston or New York or Chicago at the best of times is $300, $400, $500 a night. During the World Cup, it's going to be, multiples of that. And I don't think there are many other countries in the world that are going to be able to afford that, apart from maybe like the Scandinavians. This will be a diaspora World Cup. The Iranian games will be well attended by Iranian fans if they happen in the US, because there's a huge Persian population that left Iran after the fall of the Shah 20, 30 years ago, and they settled in Los Angeles. In the same way that if South Korea play in LA, that will be a huge Korean population at those games. So I think we're going to see a lot of partisan crowds, but not traveling crowds in the same way as we've experienced at previous World Cups, Danny.
It is a three-country World Cup, Ed. Is there much joined-up thinking going on between the three countries?
You've got the guy in the middle who has tried to make Canada the 51st state and is consistently derogatory about Mexico and the president, Claudia Sheinbaum. So I think the diplomatic relations are a little strained, to say the least. I think if you look on a federation level, I think the sporting level, the USSF and the Mexican Federation get on really well. They do a lot of marketing together. They do a lot of games together. There's the Leagues Cup, which is MLS and Liga MX, but combined to play in a cup competition every August and September. So on a footballing level, the organizing committee and the different federations are quite adjoined. But when you get up onto like the political level, the governmental level, things are a little bit more complex. And unfortunately, as we've seen, FIFA, UEFA, whoever it may be, they have no control over what happens at that level above their heads.
I mean, obviously, the world is changing. So the idea of having multi-countries hosting these tournaments, we're seeing it in the tournament again after this one, is taking root. But Ed, I'm old enough to remember the 1970 World Cup, where it blew my teenage mind into shattered smithereens. 86 was also brilliant in Mexico.
Yeah, brilliant.
How much are the... I mean, it's not... there is no final in the Azteca and all the rest of it, but how much are Mexican people, ordinary Mexican folk, looking forward to the World Cup returning to their country after 40 years?
It's huge. Look, everyone in Mexico, it's one of the most passionate football nations on earth, right? It's a huge population, huge country. They are just crazy about football. I love that the Azteca has been remodeled and renovated a little bit. It's a bit like when they did the Maracanã for 2014. It's a historic cathedral of the sport that needed that lick of paint and a bit of renovation. So I'm really looking forward to going to the renovated Azteca and seeing that. The stadium in Monterrey, I think we're all going to see it, is beautiful. The steel giant, they call it, but it's in the mountains. Absolutely exceptional, beautiful stadium. And the Guadalajara stadium that Chivas play at is also the grass banks up the side. Obviously, there were the issues with Jalisco and the cartel, but I think that people are going to love Mexico. Mexico City is one of the great cities to visit. So the tournament this summer is going to be a special moment for Mexico. And like you say, unfortunately, my biggest concern is that the Mexico team is just so ravaged by injuries. They've just lost 2-3 of their starting lineup in the last 2 weeks. The goalkeeper, Marcel Ruiz, who's probably their best midfielder. There's a race against time for their Max Dowman, if you want. Gilberto Mora, who's already represented by Haaland's agent, who will be going to a Real Madrid, Man City, one of these big clubs in the next year or two. He's also been basically out for 2 or 3 months now. So they're struggling with injuries, but Mexico will put on a show, no doubt.
And my last question to you, what possessed you to buy a club in Mexico?
Yeah.
Well, quite honestly, we were looking to invest in football clubs. And I've said this before, the English game is incredibly unsustainable at the moment. Think about 24 out of 24 championship clubs lose money. I don't think a single Premier League club made a profit last year. Everyone's losing money hand over fist and nothing's been done about it. So we were looking for somewhere that was crazy about football, that was a league where clubs were run sustainably. It was a really good opportunity to try and do things differently. We felt that if you can go to Mexico and run a club in a modern European way, I say we're very data driven. We try and be the most data driven club in the Americas. We've got actually a London-based company called Pluto, who are our data provider, who've got an incredible model. And what we're trying to do is translate that into Latin American football. Look at all the talent you've got in Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, Paraguay. If we can pick them up, give them an opportunity to develop and a place to play. We're still very early. We've only had one transfer window. Still have some changes to make in the squad until it will feel like our squad. But we're getting there, and the best thing about it is it's absolutely great fun.
Yeah, exciting. Yeah, brilliant fun.
Okay, I guess I'll have to add them to the myriad clubs. I'm looking out for the results every weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us. A pleasure and an education, as I often say. That's the owner of Querétaro FC in Mexico.
We are ultras now, aren't we, Danny? We're Querétaro ultras from now on.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the shirt and the kit. Look up the shirt and the kit for me.
Okay, I'll have
Charlie,
a look now.
We'll talk about it when we come back. We'll have a quick break. Well, our next guest is my old friend Ray Houghton, who will talk to us about the second leg of that game between Galatasaray and Liverpool at Anfield tonight, and might also sneak a few questions in about the prospects of the Republic of Ireland coming through these qualifiers to play in that World Cup in Canada, Mexico and the United States, every game of which, of course, will be live here on talkSPORT, your home of live football.
Max Dowman is. I see him playing. Because where was it? Was it Mansfield you played the other day in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He makes a run right from about 15, 20 yards outside their box. All right, he just glides edge of the box like a slalom. Yeah. The kid is a major talent. So is Ethan Wanyeri, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
At that point, he bought Wanyeri on something like 91 minutes at 3-1 up, I think, or 3-0 up.
Yeah.
It was just to give him his debut, nothing else, and that was the point I was making.
John Terry said that he was he hasn't seen a player dribble like that since Lionel Messi.
Well, I would I'd hold back that sort of credit yet. I think, come on, let the boy be the boy. Let the boy just find his way. Totally different build to Messi.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you look at the size of him. He looks like, and he's still growing. He looks like he could be. I don't know how tall he is, but he looks like he's going to be 6 foot plus, just by his build, doesn't he? And Messi was. Yeah, I would resist comparing any young player at his age to anyone at the minute. Just let him be Max Dowman.
Yeah,
he'll be Max Dowman.
Yeah,
he's a major talent. He's a major talent.
Fair play to him. They do produce some.
Yeah, they have.
Talented boys.
And Lewis Skelly coming through. And I mean, the thing about Lewis Skelly,
really
he might have to leave.
Yeah.
And Capia, if they sign him permanently in Capia, you got in him. They've got Calafiori. Where's Lewis Skelly going to go? His international career, he could have been going to the World Cup. He ain't going to the World Cup now.
You don't think he's going to get in the squad?
No, I do not.
suggestions they're sort of sleepwalking out of the Champions League.
To the far post. Osimhen, it's headed in. Mario Lemina. Oh my goodness! An awful start for Liverpool.
I just don't know which Liverpool team's going to turn up.
It's deja vu for Liverpool. They've lost by a goal to nil to Galatasaray.
The good thing is the next game is not played at here, but is played at Anfield, and our fans can create a similar atmosphere.
I think a lot of fans don't think they'll get in the top four the way they're playing.
For so many times this season the team doesn't perform at the levels you are used to. For so many times this season that we're conceding a late goal. So many times this season at home that we drop points.
Now, there is always the chance you can win the Champions League. You don't have to be the best team in it to win it. We've seen that many times.
Szoboszlai on goal, hits it! Oh, what a goal!
Still got that 90 minutes of greatness in them.
Now remember, we are bringing you 3 huge Champions League matches across the talkSPORT network this very night. From 5 o'clock this evening on talkSPORT, you can hear live coverage of Barcelona against Newcastle before Liverpool take on Galatasaray from 8. Over on talkSPORT 2, the all-important tie between Spurs and Atletico Madrid kicks off at 8 o'clock. And if you want to hear the rest of Drive with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent, then they will be live on YouTube and your smart TV from 4 p.m. all the way through until 7 o'clock. Now, somebody who definitely will be watching the Liverpool game with great interest and has got another huge one coming down the pipeline with the Republic of Ireland's World Cup qualifier next week against the Czechia. I'd like to say my old friend from talkSPORT. We've done about 1 million hours of broadcasting together.
Great.
Ray Houghton. Hello, Ray. How are
Ray.
you?
Hey, boys. How are you?
Yeah, very good to see
very
you.
good. Great to see you, man. Let's start with Liverpool first. In a normal year, Liverpool against Galatasaray, I'd be saying Liverpool are the European football experts. Galatasaray often have great players but don't travel very well. All that's out the window because Liverpool's form this season, Ray, from not just from game to game, but within games themselves, has been so patchy. The distance between their good moments and their bad moments is enormous.
Yeah, I mean, I think this season, Danny, when you look at the difference when it comes to the league performances and you look at the points difference between them and Arsenal, particularly when you won it last season, you're supposed to come out this next season and give a good account of yourself. That hasn't happened. They haven't been as consistent. I've watched a lot of Liverpool this season. Many games I've been to, Danny, they've been well in it, and then for one reason or another found a way to lose it. I can go back to Crystal Palace when they lost 2-1, Chelsea where they lost 2-1, more recently Wolves where they dominated the game, dominated opportunities at goal, but still ended up losing it. It comes down to maybe lack of concentration defensively. And that's not just the back four. I think that's all over the pitch as well. Everyone's not doing the job that they were doing last season. But one thing is true, though, what you just said there, Danny, and that is about Galatasaray's away form. Now, just looking at it, of the 4 games they had in the group stage, they won 1 and lost 3 away from home, and they lost against Juventus away in the playoff to get into the last 16. So that tells you, they don't travel well, and that gives me hope for the game tonight. Because I watched the game last week. Liverpool were well in it, started really well, pressurised Galatasaray up the pitch, won the ball back in good areas. They were trying to play through from the defence into midfield, wasn't working. Liverpool just took the wrong option in that final third, where the wrong pass, shooting when they should have passed it, passing when they should have shot. It was just incidents like that which was the difference. But I think they're still well in it. Take nothing away from Galatasaray. They've got some good players. Really like some of the players in their team. Lying on the left, technically very, very good. Yilmaz will run up and down that right-hand side for you, gives you plenty of energy. Osimhen up front is a real threat in front of the goal. But I think if Liverpool play to the levels that they can, and the home support get behind them, I fancy Liverpool tonight.
Fascinating you should mention the support last there, Ray. You played in some pretty brilliant Liverpool teams, and the crowd there at Anfield was legendary for the way it got behind the teams. But you look at the game at the weekend where they managed to let even Spurs take a point off them, and there was plenty of grumbling and rumbling in that ground that I'm not used to hearing. But my guess is that for a European tie where the team starts behind, we may see the Anfield atmosphere that we're so used to.
Yeah, listen, one of the things, I think it's a trait in the modern game, boys, where I think that when we played, the manager used to say, first 15 minutes, get after the opposition and get a shot, a goal or 2, because you want the crowd behind you. You want to get them involved in the game. In the modern game now, it's more about retaining possession. It's not about getting the fans, on side. It is just about, let's see what the opposition are trying to do. We'll pass it from one side to the other. We're waiting for openings. Rather, back in our day, it was much more about get it forward, get it in the box. Let's see if we can create an attempt at goal where everyone's going to be now, yes, I can see what your intentions are quite early on in the game. And I hope Liverpool do that tonight.
Yeah, the brightest spark for the season for them, and someone who does that is Szoboszlai, isn't it, Ray?
Brilliant.
He all energy, good in defence, can wang them in from outside the box. He's got the touch of the Ray Houghtons about him, I think.
I think he's an exceptional player, to be honest, Charlie. And one of the things I would say to you, and there's been so many people who have got an opinion about Liverpool, and rightly so. Everyone wants to have their talk about Liverpool and what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. But if you were just to go and ask the players individually and say to them, how well are you playing in comparison to last season? I think only two who was at Liverpool last season to this season will actually say, I'm at the same level or even a little bit better.
Yeah.
That'd be the goalkeeper, Alisson, and the one that you just mentioned there, Szoboszlai. Every other player, in my opinion, if you went to them and they were being brutally honest about their performances, the others would say, I've had a dip in form. And that goes throughout the team, whether that be Virgil van Dijk, whether that be Alexis McAllister, Mo Salah. You look at Mo's numbers prior to this season was absolutely off the charts. Brilliant. But you look at this season, it's not been anywhere near the levels that he's been before. And that's the way you have to ask the question, why is that? What are you doing differently? What's happening in games? Are you shooting when you shouldn't be? Are you trying to take players on and not quite coming up? What's the reasons behind it? And I think once the manager finds that out, then you'll see Liverpool improve.
Okay, well, I still think they've got every chance tonight, despite Victor Osimhen and all the rest of it. And you mentioned Dominik Szoboszlai. Of course, he was one of the players wearing a Hungarian shirt left staring into the middle distance with that late Troy Parrott winner in Budapest that put the Republic of Ireland into the qualifiers for the World Cup. Ray, while I've got you here with me, they go for a one-off game in Czechia, and then if they get through that, they come to Dublin to play either Denmark or North Macedonia. To me, the game in Dublin, if we get to it, will look after itself. The crux is next week in Czechia. That's where they'll rise or fall, the Republic. What chance do you give them?
Oh, I give them a very good chance. After the first three games in the group stages, Danny, I wouldn't have given them any chance where they were. It's been a remarkable end to the campaign. The players have grown in stature. They've learned about each other. I think they win in Hungary. I said on the day, it wasn't about us as fans finding out about the manager. It was the players finding out about themselves and could they handle the pressure in big matches like that. And they proved themselves, and hopefully they can prove it against Czechia as well. And it's a very important day because it'll be March the 26th and it'll be 40 years since Ireland's first game under Jack Charlton when they lost 1-0 to Wales. So it's a significant day. Hopefully it's a better result than that and the boys get through, because I keep trying to explain to the youngsters when you're coming through, there's games that will determine you as an individual throughout your life, never mind your career. And this is going to be one of them. You come through this, you get to the final against, as you mentioned, Denmark or North Macedonia, you get to the World Cup, you'll have legendary status in Ireland forever. And that's what's at stake for the players. And I'm sure they know that, but everyone will be fully focused for the game. And I'm hoping they can go out there and win.
Yeah, listen, Ray, I 100% agree with that. Ray Houghton, everybody,
awesome,
who enjoys legendary status in Ireland for a number of reasons, not least his winning goal against Italy in New York in the World Cup in 1994. I know, I was there and I saw it with my own eyes. If you told me about it now, I wouldn't believe it ever happened, but it did. I saw it. Thanks, Ray. Cheers,
Thanks,
man.
Ray.
Yeah, the lovely Ray Houghton there. Still got plenty more to get through, including Paddy's challenge as we head towards drive time and the end of today's programme here with myself, Danny Kelly, and him, Charlie Baker, where you are doing the one thing you know is the right thing to do, listening to Talk Sport.
years back, when Jurgen Klopp was in charge, we tried signing Moises Caicedo, a defensive midfielder, because since Fabinho and Henderson have left, we've not signed one.
Yeah.
He turned us down. We tried signing that Southampton young
Lavia as well.
Chelsea. Lavia, yeah.
Same window.
He turned us down.
Yeah.
A year later, we went for Zubamendi. He turned us down. We've not replaced that kind of player. Slot came in and played Gravenberch in that position. He did well. We won the league because of the other teams falling off as well. But we've not signed that player yet. We've let go of centre halves, Matip and company, and we've got only two.
Company.
Choice. No, Matip and company. You know.
Oh, Matip and Co. Other players.
Yeah,
Right.
Matip and Co. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, let go of players like that, and then we've not signed any centre halves. We're probably the only Premier League club who's got two senior centre halves on their books.
Do you know what, Sam, as well? Another one, Mark Gahey. I don't know why you didn't get him.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. For £5 million, we spent outrageous money on attacking players, but we not signed a defensive player just for £5 million. How ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
But that doesn't explain why you're not scoring goals.
Exactly. Yeah, but there comes Slot's position. Arne Slot.
Hold on.
Let's get cash at the cash point.
Hold on. Sorry, are you working behind the tills at like Tesco's or something?
Yes, I am.
What? While you're talking to us?
Because I'm listening to you as well.
That's unbelievable.
talkSPORT's chief football anchor Adrian Durham thinks Arsenal are now favourites for both the big ones.
At the end of this season, it's going to say Arsenal Premier League champions, possibly going to say Champions League winners, FA Cup winners, League Cup winners. They could have all four.
They're into the Champions League quarter-finals now after Ez's stunning goal. Danny Murphy says he's much better suited to playing in the 10, especially without the ball.
In the middle of the park, it's little short, sharp movements, and I think Arteta's worked with him on the defensive stuff. I think Ali was talking about it in commentary last night, and he made a great point. He looks like he's willing to do. He's very proactive with his defending now, where he was very reactive before.
With big Saudi interest in Bruno Fernandes, his former Portugal teammate Jose Fonta some advice.
He's thriving again, so why not staying until the rest of your career? Because one of the best clubs in the world.
And we're told the African Federation's decision to take away Senegal's AFCON trophy will be overturned. Morocco have now been declared winners because of Senegal's walkout in the final. Journalist and barrister Assasu Abayoana told White and Jordan the ref should have abandoned the game.
If he had done it on the pitch that day, nobody would have argued with it. He had the right to do that. But if he exercised his discretion to continue with the game, his decision is final.
Meanwhile, some bookies are already paying out on a Morocco win. More on all this at talksport.com.
Paddy's Challenge on talkSPORT with Hawksby and Jacobs. What critics are calling one of the many radio quiz segments happening this week. Paddy Power. 18 plus BeGambleAware.org.
Yeah, it is time now for Paddy's Challenge, our quiz for charity in association with our friends and official betting partner, Paddy Power. In Paddy's Challenge, we put our knowledge of the wonderful world of sport to the test with the chance to raise lots of cash for our nominated charities. I'm playing for the Sporting Memories Network, and Charlie is raising funds for the Rowcroft Hospice. Both brilliant charities, helping to manage proceedings, ensure fair play, and that I continue my fantastic winning run over Charlie, which has now stretched to one quiz. Our guest quizmaster is, of course, Ben Fletcher.
Oh, great.
Welcome, Fletch.
Hello, good afternoon, gents. In Paddy's Challenge, you know the drill. You'll each be asked 3 multiple-choice questions posed by the voice of Paddy Power, Alistair McGowan, and the winner will be the player that scores the most points. In the event of a tie, you'll both win the chance to raise some cash for your charities. Last time we played, Danny Kelly won for Team Max and backed both West Ham and Nottingham Forest to lose in last week's Premier League games. On the night, though, a victory for West Ham over Fulham 1-0, and Forest famously drew with Manchester City 2 goals apiece. No win there, but let's see if we can raise some more cash.
Wishful thinking, that bet, wasn't it, Danny? That was a night.
It was
More of that
heart
to come,
overhead.
Charlie. More of that to come.
It was definitely heart overhead. The virtual coin toss has taken place outside the studio. It has decreed that Danny will be going first on this occasion. So if our highly paid technical team are ready, tension bed on cue. Brilliant. Now that's production.
Very good.
Takes one to know one.
He's high on Woking beating Yeovil last night as well.
Better believe it. How tall keep going? Oh, we'll do that later. Danny, here comes your first question. Good luck.
In the Six Nations Super Saturday last weekend, France won the title in a 48-46 thriller against England. Which record-breaking tournament feat did the match help to deliver? A. The most points scored in a single Six Nations match. B. The first time a drop goal decided the title. Or C. A new tournament record for total tries scored in a single season.
Well, A and C are very, very tempting, aren't they? Given that France won the title having conceded 13 tries in the last 2 games, I'm going to Panenka number C.
Good one.
Too easy.
You're right to do so. The new record now stands at 111 tries, 111 at the same number of people that work in junior middle management at talkSPORT Towers. Charlie, here comes your first question. Good luck.
Which incredible milestone did trainer Willie Mullins achieve at last week's Cheltenham Festival? A. He was the 2026 festival's leading trainer. B. He saddled the first, second and third placed horses in the Gold Cup. C. He became the first trainer to reach 200 festival winners.
I mean, I was there, which means I don't remember anything about it. So I've no idea. It's like being from the 60s.
Yeah.
Absolutely not a clue. B. Middles Diddles.
Oof. I'm afraid the correct answer was A. He was the 2026 festival's leading trainer.
Well done, Willie.
Willie Mullins, the lead trainer for the 13th time and the 8th year in a row.
Wow.
How about
Just
that?
nice he's had some good news.
Absolutely right. Danny, an opportunity for you to extend your lead. Here comes your second question.
Whose long-standing record of Gold Cup wins did jockey Paul Townend beat at last week's Cheltenham Festival by winning his 5th Gold Cup on Gaelic Warrior? A. Ruby Walsh. B. Pat Taff. Or C. Sir Anthony McCoy.
I haven't a clue whose record he beat, so I'm gonna guess A.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I'm afraid the correct answer was B. A Gold Cup winner on Fort Laney and then 3 times on the mighty Arkle back in the 1960s.
I should have guessed because of the Arkle connection, yeah.
Yeah.
Taps off for Pat Taff. It's really something waiting to happen. I don't know what it is. But
It's a feature or a podcast, isn't it? One of the two. A sponsored piece. Something for our friends on the 10th floor to get their teeth around if they're not busy. So it is an opportunity for Charlie now to go even Stevens. Here comes your second question, Charlie. Good luck.
At the Six Nations, which Irish veteran helped lead Ireland to their 15th Triple Crown with a dominant 43-21 win over Scotland? A. Tig Byrne. B. Peter O'Mahony. Or C. Cian Healy.
No clue.
I have to hurry you. C?
Yeah.
Oof. It was Tig Byrne.
It's embarrassing.
It sounds like a running injury, doesn't
I
it?
think I should know these.
A turnover menace throughout the tournament.
Absolutely know these.
Apparently. You should really. So, Danny, an opportunity for you to win, an outright win. So here comes your third and final question. All the very best in British and Irish luck to you.
Thank you.
On the first day of last week's Cheltenham Festival, which 50-1 outsider caused a massive upset by beating a horse owned by Sir Alex Ferguson?
You must know this, Charlie.
A. Apollon de Charny. B. Old Park Star. Or C. Johnny's Fury.
Come on, Danny, I believe in you.
B.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Apollon de Charny. is the correct answer. Stunned the crowd by winning at huge odds in the opening race of the day.
A lot of horse racing questions in this week's quiz. Yeah.
Indeed. So, an opportunity for you, Charlie, to level things up. If you get this wrong, Danny takes home the charity pot.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't take it home. If Ofcom are listening, obviously he'll get to bet it. But if you get this right, you split the pot. Charlie, here it comes.
A strange trend in the current Premier League season has seen the resurrection of which tactical move, which had almost disappeared for a decade? A, the long throw-in. B, the false nine. Or C, the sweeper-keeper.
What? I mean, they all exist. You can't say they've disappeared and come back.
Complaints at talkSPORT.co.uk.
The sweeper-keeper.
Oof! Is incorrect. It's the long throw-in.
They all still exist.
Over 11 goals have now been scored in this campaign from the long throw-in so far, already matching the total
I thought
from
that's
last
just
season.
obvious.
Yeah, but don't worry about this, Charlie, because the result won't stand. The Moroccan FA will appeal.
Stupid quiz.
And then we'll be accused of corruption and all sorts. So it's congratulations to you, Danny.
Congratulations,
Danny.
Danny.
A 1-0 win. You are today's winner. You've won a free £20 bet that Paddy Power will place for you, so you can try and win some cash for your charity. It just remains for me to ask, what are you going to go for?
Well, the same absolutely unthought through emotional response as I had last time. Spurs to beat Nottingham Forest at the weekend, of course.
Come on, you Spurs.
It's got to be, hasn't it? We'll see how you get on and reveal the winner next week.
Thank you very much indeed, Fletch. Thank you once again for your marvellous shirt there. That was this week's challenge in the book. Yet another victory for me, thanks to our friends, and another resounding defeat, crushed beneath my wheels for Charlie Baker, thanks to our friends at Paddy Power. It's 18 plus and begambleaware.org.
Paddy's Challenge on talkSPORT with Paddy Power. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Yeah, that really was legendary radio.
You did really
fun,
well.
wasn't
You did
it?
really well there, Danny. I'm pretty embarrassed. There's
Yeah,
a lot of horse racing.
We got one between six of us, Charlie.
I was only there every day and then sat watching the Six Nations all day Saturday.
Oh, likewise. Absolutely likewise. I watched Cheltenham every snack of it. I watched the rugby every snack of it. We got one out of six. These charities do not deserve to have us representing them. I think it's fair to say.
No good.
Spurs up next. They've got to turn over a 3-goal deficit against Atletico Madrid. We'll talk about how they might get on next here on talkSPORT and Kelly and Baker.
When do we hear about City and 115? Is there any correlation here?
The overlap, I think, is only to the extent as to the treatment of this sort of conduct has not been treated as severely as PSR. So in a theoretical scenario where City are found to have breached some of the rules, but ultimately, like Chelsea, that wouldn't have impacted on its PSR position.
Yeah.
This agreement suggests that, save for the fact that there was cooperation here and early admission, save for that fact, that maybe it's not even a points deduction for something as extreme as that. Maybe. So I think this is generally positive for City in terms of its leniency, but I wouldn't read too much into it because, of course, this is a sanction agreement. As to when it's coming, I mean, clearly we are now way over the expectations of all the parties. The last information I had is they have no idea when it's coming. I think we are back in the realms when international breaks are more likely than other times, but who knows?
And one international break's about to come up.
But for City, you must be in the same space.
Yeah.
If you are, because part of the allegation against City is fraud. So if indeed you are found to be guilty, because at this moment in time City aren't found guilty of anything, if you're found to be guilty, how do you then take up the table of sanctions and say, well, actually, it's a points or removal of credit and whatever else you had in the past because you've just allowed Chelsea to admit.
I think what they would say is, in the City case, you will struggle to get any of those lines of mitigation.
No, fine.
That are there in the Chelsea
but
case.
does mitigation
So it'll
remove,
all be aggravation.
But does mitigation remove points then?
Yeah, heading towards the finishing line now here on Kelly and Baker. Still one more football match to talk about, Charlie.
Yeah.
And that is the game in North London tonight. You can hear it over on talkSPORT 2, where Tottenham become the latest English club to try and overturn a 3-goal deficit in the Champions League. Why don't we listen first to the Spurs defender Mickey van der Ven, who's been speaking to the media ahead of that second leg with Atletico, live on talkSPORT 2. He rejected the idea that the Tottenham players have given up the fight for Premier League survival this season.
Yeah, of course, I've seen things passing by. It's not something I look at a lot, to be honest, but it's just like reporters just say some things the way just like how do you even come up with this, like players are switched off or don't care about the situation what's happening right now. And the only thing I can say about it's not true. Like, it will be strange if a player will be in the dressing room now and saying like, oh, I'm gonna leave either way, or I don't focus about the situation because everything that's gonna happen, it doesn't affect me. And I think it's just nonsense. It's just like things they're just bringing out, and it's only like, and people just start believing it. And what I said, it's the biggest nonsense. Everybody's just focused on like what's going ahead and what's in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mickey has been furious about everything this season, and this is the latest thing that he's furious about, because his body language on the pitch, he's just not a happy bunny. Why would he be, in the way Spurs have been playing?
No, of course.
The odd thing about this, Charlie, is that I think there are a lot of Spurs fans, you always want Spurs to win, a lot of Spurs fans who wouldn't mind if they weren't entirely concentrated on this game tonight, which is, a very outside chance of Spurs are going to get anything from the tie, provided they get their heads and bodies together
ready
for the big match on Sunday against Nottingham Forest.
No, definitely. I mean, and I think that's the most important thing for Spurs and Spurs fans, isn't it? And I think Tudor would be foolish to think anything else, really. They can, of course, they've got to try and be proud tonight, and take some pride from tonight, but you don't want to be losing 8-2,
I mean,
Chelsea.
The situation in one way is both complicated by and yet made more simple by Spurs' unavailability problems.
Yeah.
They combine, so now they're combining injuries with suspension for Richarlison and illness. Conor Gallagher, who I don't think has missed a match in his entire life with Chelsea, England and Atletico Madrid, has suddenly got some kind of asthma-related issue. So Spurs have only got 13 or 14 players to choose from. He can't really change the team that much. They should go out there. They have to give their all and trust that the medical folk can get them together over the next 3 or 4 days.
Don't get injured for the weekend, basically.
Well, quite, you know. That's the thing. João Palhinha's concussion protocol, I think, goes on for another couple of days, but he should be back for the weekend.
Yeah.
And the problem is, Charlie, and I don't mean to be, I would love Spurs to win 9-0 and we'd have something amazing to talk about on the Beautiful Lane podcast, and you would have something amazing to talk about tomorrow at Paul Hawksby, who'd be running around the studio in a navy blue posing pouch with excitement.
9-0 tattooed on his face.
But then we'll have the quarterfinals. We'll have the same problems because they've got to win these games in the Premier League.
Yeah.
It's very tricky.
Beating Forest at the weekend would do you a lot of favours, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how many people turn up tonight. There have been noticeably some empty seats in that stadium as the team has played worse and worse and worse at home over the past 18 months. It's expensive for the Champions League.
It is.
And they're 3 goals down. I'll be very interested to see. I mean, I think the atmosphere will be great. I think it's a free swing for the supporters, isn't it? They've got to get behind the team.
Early goal.
But, an early goal, of course.
You never know.
When Kolo Muani, who's specialised in only scoring really in the Champions League, can do something for us.
Maybe try playing a couple more keepers tonight as well. That might be fun, doesn't it? If they,
Brandon Austin must be due a little go in the goal as well. I mean, that really would be the tough move to put Kinski back in the goal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, really would.
I can't imagine it is going to happen. So, Charlie, that's the Champions League looked at. That game is live, of course, on talkSPORT. And we've still got a few minutes to go on the show. And I want to tell you some personal news. To all of the millions of you listening to me now, talkSPORT have encouraged me to do this because you'll be wondering where I've gone otherwise. I've worked here at talkSPORT for nearly 20 years, a bit more actually. But for the next few months, you'll be hearing a little less from me and a little less frequently. I need to talk plainly to you all now because the majority of our listeners, better or worse, are men. And men are often very difficult people to talk about and talk to and talk with about medical issues. So I don't intend to mince my words here. I'm going to tell you that I am a sick man. 6 weeks ago, I went to the doctor, hat on the side of my head, something going on with my eating. I thought it was probably acid reflux, and he would give me a big bag of Gaviscon. Other tablets are available. Instead, it turns out that I have cancer. To be specific, I have cancer of the esophagus, a really dangerous thing. Now, look, that's the bad news. The less bad news, because there isn't really good news, is that after another long series of tests, after a very tense 3 or 4 weeks waiting for results, the medics say that the thing hasn't spread inside my body and that they can and they will help me. What I'm facing, to be truthful with you all again, is a tough and lengthy program of treatment. There'll be chemicals, there'll be surgery, and there'll be chemicals again. It is a hard road, but one that the doctors are hopeful that will see me emerge recovered and healthy at the far end. Now, obviously, there'll be times during this, whole stretches of time, where I won't be fit to broadcast. But I want to say here that talkSPORT have been absolutely amazing about this, as I guess they would be, and they will let me decide when and if I'm okay to talk to you. I want to do that and broadcast onwardly because I enjoy it, because I need to have something to look forward into the future, and because, therefore, at a time when my physical health is under attack, it will help my mental health. And I thank them for the opportunity they've given me to make up my mind about that. Now, look, this isn't just about me. I've learned something really incredibly important in the last few weeks. I think I knew it, but it's been nailed home to me. If you feel something just isn't right in your body, I don't mean you've got a hangnail or a bit of earwax or something, but if you know something is not quite right in your body, for God's sake, go to the doctor. Get yourself checked out. 99% of the time, it will be nothing. But if it is something, the sooner it's caught, the better the chance of getting it sorted out. Get yourself checked out. So that's it, my friends. You'll be hearing me less and less regularly as I concentrate on letting the fabulous medical people do their stuff. Meanwhile, your prayers, best wishes, positive vibes, whatever you can, will be gratefully accepted. Thanks for listening to this, which I know hasn't been easy, and for listening to me and Charlie today. Hopefully, with a bit of luck and the genius of the doctors, we'll do it all again real soon and long into the future. God bless you all. Cheers for now.
Manchester United legend Nicky Butt has recently come out saying the club must give Bruno Fernandes anything he wants, is the quote, in order to keep him there amid continued links to Saudi Arabia. Fernandes, for me, Gabby, has been absolutely tremendous. He's now just 4 assists off the Premier League record and continues to prove just how important he is to that Manchester United side. He has, mate, you can say what you like, and myself and a few others, I wasn't necessarily happy with him with some of the throwing the hands up and all that stuff. You know, it's probably maybe a more European thing or a foreign thing that they do. And there was things like that you know, would probably annoy me a little bit if I was a teammate of his. However, by far and away, the most important thing is his ability on the pitch and how he's handled it. And I think he's been, if not the one constant in Manchester United,
100%.
You know, he's been tremendous, mate, hasn't he?
And I'm scared to think where Manchester United would have been over the last 5 years, and especially this season, without